And I first went to, let me not lie, I went to gossip to somebody that is Justin on crack. Because it doesn't make... No, because I know he has 3 jobs. And I know that...
Where's the money?
Yes, and I know that tech bros are into drugs. So just, you can level with me. Is it cocaine? Is it pills?
What is
his money
that is ruining his life?
Because Justin will want to do a small thing for him. No, you guys, I don't know how to explain it to you.
Hi, my name is Justin Irabor, and I'm here at I Said What I Said. I'm a software engineer. I work in AI, and we're going to be discussing black tax. We're taking requests and commentary from viewers of I Said What I Said, and hopefully it's a very enlightening and positive experience for you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Oh, that's so lovely. Hello, boys and girls.
Hello, all.
Wagwan. The bounce is what? The bounce has a guest today.
Yes, we do.
A throwback.
A repeat guest.
A throwback.
A friend of the
His hair
house.
is longer than when he came.
Yes.
It's been 5 years, so...
When I met Justin, he had no hair. He had 0 hair. Fun fact, I've said it many times, Justin was one of my first colleagues at my first job. We met at Big Cabal Media.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be working for Tech Cabal. But slowly but surely, because he's extremely talented, we will just come and say, so let me tell you how it happened. Justin is really, really, really talented. Like, he's smart, but he's also very artistic. And he does things, Sha. But the company was so tiny. It was so small. And everything we would ask for, Shay would just say, I don't have the money. Like, we'll be like, oh, we would like to. He'll say, I would also like that for you, but we don't have the money. So figure it out. So when we started the video aspect of Zikoko, I shit you not, every other video would just be like, Justin! I remember one time we started like a food thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there was a food art thing that we're like, oh, maybe we'll ask Hanifa. But Hanifa lived in Ilorin at the time. Yeah. And she's the only person that we knew we could beg for free. The next day we just said, Justin, can you do this thing? He said, well, and that's how he talks. He was like, well, just like his glasses, I can try. Because we said, bring plates. And Justin did like this food art thing. After that, wow, he couldn't escape anything in the office, any small... Justin!
You know what's funny about that food art video? Because I've thought about it like after the fact. So one thing that I did not consider, which obviously makes Hanifa like superior to me in every way, is that when you are doing food art, the final outcome is that the food should be edible. So even if you're making food art,
you're supposed to be able to like...
Yeah, so I did not consider.
Yeah,
I mean, my dear, you tried.
If you knew what I made that day, you would have died.
But it was so much fun. Working with Justin was incredible. Like, he was so smart and he had ideas. Like, he knew things and he took life much more seriously than the rest of us did. If you listen to the old episode, you know why, because he was had serious responsibilities. Some of us, salary was for one shawarma, full tank, and going out with your friends. But yeah, that's how I met Justin. And we both left Big Cabal Media, but we're still friendly. Every time I see him around, I just shout his name from my car every single time. I shout, Justin! But yeah, so this is Justin Irabor. Do you want to tell them who you are and what you do now?
Oh yeah, sure. So thanks, Jola, for the introduction. I'm Justin Irabor. Today, I'm a software engineer. In the last I Said What I Said episode, I used to work in fintech. I worked for a company called TradeCore in UK and Serbia. But today I work for the International University of Applied Sciences in Berlin, Germany. We have an artificial intelligence / machine learning department, and I'm an AI engineer there. So yeah. That's
See,
me.
I know smart people.
Do you get, as in, I'm just
so
like,
smart.
Look at what you're doing.
You know, when you look at, my former colleagues.
After you said that now, I can't even describe what exactly it is that you do.
So my former colleagues founded Piggyverse, work in machine learning. Jola, what do you do?
What's going on? Sometimes I sit down with my friends and I'm just like,
Please don't gas us up.
I'm like, please keep talking.
We all wish we had I Said What I Said clout.
But how have you been? How is life?
What did
5 years? Yes. What have you been up to for the past 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I have just been, grinding, being a software engineer, and slowly getting worried about, AI taking over my job. So that's what I've been doing.
The AI
in the last 5 years.
you are building.
Yes.
Yeah. Fair.
Yes. Like, so at work, I tell them that we are basically like planning out our own retirement. Like every time that we're writing any piece of code, we're like, we're deprecating ourselves in real time.
How close do you think we are in a legitimate way to this sort of thing happening? Obviously not base level jobs, but like an engineer.
So the thing that concerns me, so objectively, I don't think we're close at all.
Okay.
Right?
Because I was going to say that, are we not like 10, 15 years out?
But my worry is that for innovators or the kind of people who like run businesses, they tend not to care that the thing doesn't work. They tend to deploy like very excessive, heavy-handed solutions that are designed to reduce their overhead costs that affects people meaningfully today.
Yeah.
You know? And so even if the technology is not quite there yet, it still has the potential to affect people
for sure.
today. So I don't know if you know about this startup. It's called Klarna.
Yeah.
That does. I don't know if you followed the story. They basically deprecated their customer support team and a bunch of things, and now they're rehiring again. You know. So what happens to those first set of people? You know, their lives were completely like upended very abruptly, and that cannot be undone. You know. So my real concern is not so much the technology itself, but the technologists.
Yeah, and what's going on
and
with
what they do. You know, because there's. In the conversation that I see on the internet, there's some malice in it, and it bothers me. Like there is some malice in the way people talk about.
Yes, now your job won't exist anymore. Don't worry, continue.
Yeah, and there's also like a high horse kind of. It's like there's a fence, and like if you're on this side of it and you get it and you're using it, you're just like, you fools.
Yeah. So if somebody is struggling to accept this technology, they will say it must be a you problem. Right? It's like, oh, I am at work. I would rather communicate with my customers, like, and have a personal relationship with them. I would rather handwrite all my messages to them. You're like, you're going to die. The person who just has ChatGPT, right, is going to write more emails faster than you and it's going to be better than you. So you either accept this artificial intelligence that basically dumbs down your own cognition and also kind of removes all personality from the things, the things that you design. So it's like, if you wanted to do this, I said what I said episode with ChatGPT, and then you fed it all previous episodes.
Yeah.
The next episode will seem similar.
Yeah. And then after that,
something will be missing.
Yeah.
Do you get? Like something like fundamental will be missing. And this is my worry. Given enough cycles of people, like if you decided to automate I said permanently, eventually people will forget what a good I said episode was like. And so they will be comfortable
with what's coming.
And it will be mediocre, but acceptable.
Yeah.
And that's how we leach out all creativity, all, variation from the world. Everything then becomes homogenized because we're all using the same ChatGPT.
Yeah, I remember when they first started messing with ChatGPT, and it was about how they fed it like artists' music and authors' books and stuff, and it was like, oh, write a book about blah 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 blah, but make it written by Chimamanda, or Bryson Taylor writes a song about Faye Kemi, whatever. Yeah. And obviously artists feel away because first of all, you didn't take permission. You just used my likeness and my idea.
Yeah.
And I remember like the comments being a whole like, innovate or die, blah, 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 blah. And as somebody who is in the creative sector as well, it's very odd to me that people don't understand how this is a specific kind of problem. Like you can't have AI make art and tell me that this is art. Like that's not what I wanted. That's not the experience I'm looking for. You can't have AI sit down in the studio and do an IRA song and say that's an IRA.
I'm like
what are you talking
songs
about?
that we know and love, it can't come, it's not going to come from there. Like you can use it to assist and improve and like certain things. So I was listening to another podcast, and this woman was talking about her business and how she has created these like custom GPTs or, custom agents where one is like Steve Jobs, one is Bill Gates, and they're like her advisory board. So she asked them questions about her business. Then Steve Jobs will now say, I said Steve who?
Another one
I'm just like, girl, do not do what those people. I'm just like,
the one I'm really worried about is I read that lots of young people, like particularly younger Gen Zs, are using AI as their therapists.
No, let me tell you the worst one. You've not said it. What's it called? Oh my God, what's the name of this thing? It's the AI boyfriend.
Character AI?
Character AI.
Yeah.
I even thought the use case would be for men. I thought Lucy, all those things will happen. No, it is their main use case. I was listening to the guy on a podcast yesterday, and he was like, their main use case is AI boyfriend. You put everything you want. Or you'll say, okay, I want my boyfriend to be Brad Pitt and this other guy. And then one babe fed it all her ex's texts. And then the thing was now talking to her, like her ex. And now she's like in love with it. It's insane. Like the AI is texting her good morning and making her feel good. And I'm like, I'm playing this out like 2-3 years on from now when you've been doing this every day. I think it's insane. Like, I think AI calling you babe is wild, you know? And she's saying, oh no, it's just that she's like using it in a different way. But I'm like, no, you've created a man.
Oh no.
That is actually toasting. Like he's
oh my gosh.
you.
I think the thing is fundamentally, human beings are very funny because it's how we just go to the extreme of everything, never think the problems through until we're having like big societal issues and then everybody's suddenly trying to overcorrect. Because a big thing, remember how Facebook was a great thing in that like, you're connecting with your friends first. And then it became you're meeting people and you're solving for loneliness. And then I just remember the point where it got really weird to me was just before and just after the pandemic, when it was like, oh, make friends in the metaverse. And it's like, but people are lonely and are unable and have become a bit like socially awkward. And we're trying to overcorrect for everyone's personal insecurities and problems by ignoring real life potential interactions. And you're like, do you know what we're going to do?
Avatars.
You're going to do avatars and we're going to make friends in the multiverse.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, this is weird. But I was listening to Scott Galloway and he was talking about how over time we have abdicated responsibility in a very odd way by making these really, really successful in one thing, very smart, very clever tech bros, the arbiters of society.
Yeah.
And forgetting that for them, this is like a money-making thing.
Yeah.
So they're telling you that we're going to solve your loneliness by keeping you glued to your screen for as long as possible. And it doesn't matter whatever problems come from that. Maybe like, so for instance, there are a lot of things that people do now that we accept as normal that are just not okay. So for instance, Fakemi can post from today and somebody will just write outfit ? You don't talk like that to people.
You won't actually see me
and just say outfit. You don't do that, right? There are just small things that we've done that erode, that have, and this is purely like a tech social media thing. Like people will say stuff like, oh, it's really weird that when you go into the stores, people don't say stuff like, oh, excuse me, good morning, good afternoon. Someone is like putting your stuff in bags and you're not saying thank you. Someone is like, oh, but what if you have social anxiety? And it's like, yo,
like, just excuse me. Down. It's actually just...
Excuse me. And then somebody's like, this is why I prefer, this is why I think something should be self-service checkouts. And it's just like, guys, we're overcorrecting for like a very human issue. And we're doing it too much. Like I think we're going, people are excited. It's giving, we couldn't get the Jetsons, so we're doing the budget version of what we can. Everybody's dream was flying cars and being able to, you don't have to wash dishes, you just put them somewhere.
Like being able to walk through your closet and then the clothes will just come on you. That's what we wanted. Dude.
And here we are doing stuff
now people are like I saw this video from this girl and she was like, oh, she uses character AI ChatGPT as like her friends. So she was saying like bestie AI and like basically she has used the character AI to actually just be a friend, like her best friend who messages her in the morning and she talks to her about her day. And I'm like, girl, but this baby is in university. You can actually just... I said, my sister, I'm very sure there's at least like one person that can watch you life kilo day.
We're trying to use it to smooth over the awkward parts of like reality. Like there's nothing... You shouldn't feel comfortable not speaking to anyone at all at work because you have someone to talk to online.
Hello, boys and girls.
Hello, all.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Coins by Bamboo is now Missan by Bamboo.
Sexy name.
Very sexy. MISAN. Coins by Bamboo is now Missan by Bamboo. None of the great stuff they had before has changed, but now we have some new
extra things
for you.
So that includes the fact that you can now transfer to an additional 15 African countries. You know, before it was just Canada to Nigeria.
Yes.
Now you have 15 other African countries. And not only that, but you can now go the other way around. So now Nigerians in Nigeria can access the app.
Phenomenal stuff.
Yep.
Also, you can get an instant virtual USD card. So like your Spotify, Amazon, whatever payments that you want to make online, you can get that inside your Misan by Bamboo from Nigeria.
Yeah. And you can also now fund your card in Naira with very, very low transfer fees with some of the best exchange rates and no hidden charges.
Everything is there for you.
Exactly.
So, what else do you need?
Get to Misan by Bamboo and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Bye.
I remember the first day I walked into the office and just being really anxious, like, oh, I hope like I don't rub people the wrong way. That is normal. What you don't now want to tell people is because you're making money off ads and data gathering. Like, do you know what is best for you? Online friends. Do you know what? Why don't you try to train AI into, AI is your all-in-one. It helps you with work, life, play, sex, everything. Excuse me. Like, I just think that we're smoothing over the harsh edges of it, trying to, and creating like other, but that's not why we're here.
That's not why we're here.
Don't
get me wrong, it's great, so please use it and make money or like make your life easier. But I just think the edge cases are way too interesting. Also, what I see people doing, I'm like, this has dire.
Also, it's easy to judge the edge cases rather than like think critically of how you are
you get there.
How you get to that part. So at the point where I feel like, oh, I know what Justin is up to, but it's because I haven't made the effort to see or speak to Justin. It's all been online shit. Like DMing each other, messaging each other, but I actually haven't called Justin. I haven't been like, yo, I haven't said, actually, like, I should come and visit you and your babe. Like, I've never... Or we should go for lunch. Or So it's easy for me to say, well, I don't have AI friends. I'm not that pathetic. But
like,
my real life friends,
like, people, especially people who maybe are very active, you see what they're doing a lot, so you feel like, we've caught up now. Didn't you post yesterday that you were at? I saw you. So it's weird.
Yeah. To both your points, I agree that relationships are difficult, right? And humanity has gotten into this bad habit where difficult things, we try not to do them. We find like poor substitutes for the difficult thing, So we don't want to cook, so we do food ordering services. And for the most part, it's fine. Like you should reduce the amount of useless labor you do, right? But sometimes the mere act of striving to have a relationship with people, right, makes you a better person. Just like you mentioned, right? People's communication skills decided to atrophy because we don't communicate as often as we did. I was telling somebody very recently that in the past we had two kinds of writing. We had prose and then we had poetry. And people think poetry is like in the domain of just poems, but it's like if you were writing a novel, if you read like old books from back then, there was poetry in the way that they were written, right? There was just a certain, like you could read just the cadence of the way you're reading this book. You can just tell that the author put a lot of thought into the way sentence structures follow and they build into this beautiful narrative,
oh my
right?
God.
But lately when I read like modern books, there's a lot of prose to it. And I think that is because per person, we write a lot more social media posts than anything in the world, right? So if you're online, I've written maybe 5 to 10 books in if you combine all my tweets. I've written like maybe 5 to 10 books, right? So if I ever wanted to write a book, right, and I tried to get like to bump up my writing style a little bit, it will probably fall short of the Achebes of before because they never had to, because your hand, like the way you write gets like, it's a function of the things you consume. And so if you consume a lot of like really poorly thought out content, right? Because everybody is just churning out like a lot of stuff. Everybody's feed is homogeneous and everything. Then I become the average of everybody I'm consuming. When I do write, it shows. No matter how hard I try, it shows. And that's why like I read what people write these days and I read what people read. And I'm like, we're not going to make it as a people. Like it's like unless we have like a specific class of human that we've kept somewhere in a bunker that doesn't interact with any of these technologies. Like somebody would just put somewhere with just 1960s tech. And that person is just reading books. And then we have completely downgraded. I listen to presidents today speak and I'm like, this cannot be who we are now.
No,
you know?
It's
Like if you read like archival footage of people from before, like I know that it is the natural human penchant to have nostalgia and say things were better in the past. But they were objectively better speakers and they were better thinkers.
Yes.
You know, for the most part, like when you saw a scholar interact with a problem, I can see a distinction between then and now, you know, in the way that they deconstruct like issues. But even our scholars are like, they're also they're the average of us.
That's what I'm saying. Like now, you just have a lot of people who make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Like the people who like were known for thinking things through. And they're saying, no, not so videos, just you sitting down saying many, many things. So we're losing a lot of the recipes that kind of got us here. And it's an interesting it's an interesting thing.
Yeah. And specifically to what you're saying, the AI, like the fact that AI is democratizing like knowledge makes everyone feel like an expert. But the problem is that makes anti-intellectualism even worse, you know? So when a medical expert, for example, talks about
vaccines,
something, you just ask your AI and your AI is going to give you something you want to hear. And then you can then mentally or even physically, you know, negate anything an expert says, you know? So at this point, we have built like our own shrines in our houses that basically guides us. But even the AI has no real ground truth, has no real way to know that it's right, and also faces no consequences if you follow through. So usually when you ask your father for advice and your father gives you advice, your father is giving you the advice knowing that the blowback of that effect, of that advice affects him too. It affects him too, you know? So it's like, when your father is like, I want you to go study medicine, it's because he wants you to leave his house. That's actually, the hidden truth there is that I want you to get out of my house. That's why I want you to study medicine so you can be successful.
And get a job.
You know, because if it turns out that your father lied to you, and then you're gonna live with him forever. You know, so that's his incentive.
Yeah.
And now you have these LLMs, you're asking for advice, and if it blows back, it doesn't affect the LLM in any meaningful way. And
I think go back and type another thing there.
And I think that this is by like a rule of thumb. Only take advice from people who will suffer if the advice was wrong.
That's funny.
I like that actually.
Don't trust like an unaffected neutral third party. They will tell you whatever it is. In fact, that's why when people love to talk to strangers on the internet and not friends and family, because strangers will feed your ego, you know? They'll say things to make you feel good about yourself, right? Because they don't care, right?
And there's no context.
Yeah, so oh my gosh, like, this is.
I'll take what you're saying at face value and just tell you how it was. Your friends are like, I
know you also. I think also it's just really interesting because it's the thing of crowdsourcing your conscience or trying to crowdsource your future.
Yes.
Yeah.
With zero, like just zero blowback on. So a good example is let me think of something that we love to think of in technicalities. So if I am tired or bored of a relationship, a good, healthy relationship, and I go to Feyikemi. Feyikemi is friends with me and my partner. She's more likely to be like, I'm not saying you shouldn't do what you want to do, but let's walk through the reasons why you're doing this thing. Now, if I crowdsource that idea to the internet, they're going to say, what makes you happiest? And you know everybody. But the reality is that
if it doesn't serve you, drop it. Okay.
And this is all, but the thing is that for them, I'm a theoretical individual. And this is a theoretical situation. It's not their lived reality. But the friends and family around me who we can position their advice as societal pressure, or they are the ones who are able to think of other things. So yes, it's possible that my parents might just say, we don't want any divorce in the family. That's true. But they could potentially just be like, but I know you don't have the capacity to withstand, this kind of loneliness for a long amount of time. Or you're just going through a lot of pressure right now. Or quite frankly, you guys are going through a rough patch that requires 2 conversations, 1 hot fight, a lot of good sex and therapy.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Like, just keep it moving.
Yeah, so I don't know. I actually quite like that. I've never thought of it that way. But actually, that makes a lot of sense.
It's just... Because there are a lot of things. It's like one of my friends, a guy, he was telling me like him and his girlfriend have been in an issue for like 6 weeks. I said, but here's the problem. Because I know you, I know that you are the issue. The issue people are having. You know you that caused it. But now you're tired of begging her. I said, okay, drop it now.
Yeah.
You are talking a lot. You know, all the whatever no longer serves you. You say, I can't just be begging for soul. Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. Release. Is it that will still suffer? Yeah. So I was like, I don't understand what you want me to say. is your fault. So you can't control the appropriate time it takes to fix the mess that you create. I say, if I were you, I would just carry on. But what you're looking for is people that just say, no, you've done. I said, my brother, this is real life. There's nothing outside.
Yeah. Also, my cousin was telling me something that we're just, because we're not a big family, so.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what the context of the conversation was, but she was like, she said it in a very Yoruba way and it made me laugh. She was like, don't take advice based on when people want to use you as an experiment. In that they would never,
Yeah. But I want to see what happens if you do.
You do what you want to do, but if they were to apply, they would just not take this advice. They would just not do this. This is 100% theoretical. 100%. For them, it's like, no, I wouldn't do that. But you feel free, babe. Like you do or you do this and let's see what it looks like.
It's all right because it's like someone who was talking about starting this business and I'm like, the thing is, I said, look, I have more than one business. It's not what it is made out to be. And I was like, you have a fantastic job. Like genuinely fantastic. But this itch you have, you are going to use it to scatter what is going well in your life. And I was like, please, I want us to be like in the real world. Like you have a family. You actually have, I'm like, I'm not saying you should not follow your dream, my guy, but please don't jump. The excitement you're using, you don't even know if this thing can pan out. Please don't jump anywhere. I'm like, again, it's easy to say, oh, just resign, I said, but like, you actually have a great situation. You're not unhappy with it. You just have this itch that like you're a person who is able to create something from the ground up. And I'm like, don't romanticize this ground up, oh my dear. People that are there, they're not having a good time. And, I was just trying to be like, guy, forget what people are telling you. Please just look at the facts on the ground. You've never done this thing before. You don't know how it's going to work. You don't want to start in a small way. Yeah. You want to go bigger. I say you will be home.
You don't want to learn like...
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like you don't want to do it in like the set. You don't want to do the boring thing of you're going to work still and figure it out. And then if it works out, you leave your job. You want to do I just left so I could focus.
Yeah. It's...
You have like this fantastic grass to grace story in your head.
Yeah, and I'm
but
just
you don't
thinking,
do the grass part.
You earn in dollars. If I were you, I would seriously rethink this matter.
Yeah.
No, I can empathize with that because I tend to have that same mental illness. Like I'm just like, man, I just want to just
do your own thing.
Yeah, break free. Just it's an artistic course.
Yeah, right? So every time he just sees his friends and he's like, I can do this thing.
Yeah, it is. You actively have to always force yourself not to think like that.
Yeah.
Because it's a recurring thought permanently in your head.
It's really crazy.
Like I'm a software engineer today and I'm like, I want to set up like this art studio. I'm like, nah.
No, but the thing is that, so this is the thing, at least in Justin's case, it makes, as an objective, just as an objective third party, Justin is incredibly artistic. So on some level, it would make some sense. But I do think there's just something so dreamy about this. Just we're such dreamers. Humanity is made up of dreamers, right? Like that's part of what pushes us forward. People being able to dream. Yeah. But I do think, like to some degree, access to too many people's thoughts, too many people's realities, and too many people's projections of what they want us to see has democratized the idea that building is easy as well.
This thing you mentioned, Jola, by the way, is something that I've been concerned about. Like in the past, when people wanted to do things, they just went out and did it, and obviously they made a lot of mistakes. Obviously, but they went out and they did it. Now, if you want to do anything, you have to do like a lot of research, right? You have to talk with LLMs. Every idea you have, every thought you have. If you go on Twitter, someone says something and then someone is in the reply saying, "Ad grok, is this true?" I don't know if you guys have seen it. Yeah, like it's ad grok, is this true? And it's amusing, but I'm like, you cannot truly have an opinion or you cannot arrive at your knowledge or your ground beliefs if you don't just have them, right? So what I mean is, let's assume I was thinking about the Nigerian economy and thinking about like the president and a bunch of things about like how as an individual I should react to the current socioeconomic context. The only way for me to arrive at that truth is to think about how the government's policies affect me as a person and how I would want to react to those policies. But a lot of people short circuit that kind of really in-depth thinking and they just go straight to the president did XYZ. What is the implication of this, right? it's good. It's good for your knowledge. But the point is that it doesn't allow you to do the deep work. So one of the most important ways anybody can do anything meaningful if you're building is you have to fail multiple times to arrive at your answer. If you don't fail and you arrive at your answer, you will never be sure how concrete that answer is because you did not arrive at yourself. So people who have like staunch beliefs tend to arrive at it via experience. Yeah. And people who have very weak beliefs tend to arrive at it by reading, you know? And so when people talk about experts, people think that expertise comes from consuming content, but no, expertise comes from participating in the field and arriving at your answers. Then you have very strong opinions, right? So when people talk about like the vaccines, like you were talking about like vaccines and everything, I don't respect anti-vaxxers because when you speak with like the average anti-vaxxer, they tend to read very shallowly and they tend to read like in a biased way, right? They find things that support their point of view. But if you were a true anti-vaxxer, you will tell me that you have looked at vaccinated people and you can tell me how their lives were destroyed by the vaccines. And you look at non-vaccinated people and
you can see the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. So for example, I am pro-vax indefinitely because I know what polio did to Nigerians.
I know.
You know, I saw a young kid very recently. I was driving and this kid had polio. And I was talking to my girlfriend. I was like, there is no reason this kid should have polio. There's absolutely no reason.
We've actually done it.
Yeah, I was very upset that day. You know, I was like, because from a northern kid, so like some parts, you know, it's like a clear sign of disadvantage, you know, and everything. And I was like, these are the kind of things that anti-vaxxers don't address, you know.
It's not their reality as well.
Polio was gone like in the 90s. Like I think 1960 or so. Like I know that it's been quite a while. It's been long enough that we shouldn't have a certain demographic should not have polio, right? So if I say a kid with polio, I know that somebody has fucked up somewhere.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
And we don't talk about it enough, you know.
I really like that because I remember talking to someone about this specific thing. I said, you know, I have never met a Nigerian anti-vaxxer that is serious about what they are saying. And I didn't need to be convinced about vaccinations because, you know, I had very clear research experience. Simple explanation. I went to my grandmother's house one day. I was a kid, literal kid, maybe 8, 9. My grandmother had a Bible, family Bible. I opened the Bible. I see my dad's name. I see my uncle's name. I see my late aunt whose name I recognize. She passed away in an accident. But then I see 3 other names. And I'm like, who are these people? And my grandmother said, my children. I said, huh?
That's true.
I said, what happened to your children? And my grandmother, who was this most stoic, funny woman in the world, starts crying. I said, my babies died. Now, you do not tell me.
Yeah.
You do not tell somebody who has immediate family who passed from curable disease that you cannot tell my grandmother. You cannot tell my grandmother that, her grandchildren should not be vaccinated. And she will listen to you. Or then said grandchild will now come and say, oh, grandma, you know, we don't believe. We believe in homeopathy. My grandma will go back and open that Bible. I said, it's like you're not seeing. You're not sure. You're not seeing. Yes, people. You know. And I think it's really important, like you said, so that whole thing of like guessing in the field. It's the same way you find children who grew up in very Pentecostal environments, having very strong ideas or understandings of the traditional and Pentecostal movements. You find people who have, like, for lack of a better word, who have had skin in the game, have a bit more, you know, former managers are very jaded about the music industry. Those are the best people to talk to before you enter.
Because they've seen the side, all the sides of things. I can come to like a real conclusion that, listen, I've actually, you're looking at it from that side. I've actually been inside the room and I'm like, hey.
A friend of mine, well, she's not my friend, she's an older person I respect, but when she ran for office, Aisha Osori, and I really think anybody who wants to run for office in Nigeria should, not even read her book. Talk to her. You know, you speak to her and you understand in very clear detail what it takes and what it doesn't take. No, it's not faith, it's not belief, and it's not hard work. So I think, you know, you're 100% right. It does take a different level. And also, this I think is really important. When people do this thing, the thing you said about being an expert, where society has generally elevated we equate people's personal ideas to like expertise. So Justin, as a software engineer, can tell me something about, maybe he says, the way Twitter currently is like, it's really bad engineering on the back end, or it's very broken, right? Justin is telling me that as a software engineer. And I said, well, I use Twitter and it works fine, so that's rubbish.
Yeah.
Or you watch a video where somebody said that's not how Twitter is supposed to work, and this is what they don't want you to know.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're saying many, many, many things, or it's like all these things where, okay, you're not feeling well. Recently, I wasn't feeling well. I remember I would say it to people, and I remember someone said, oh, this is what I'm taking. They were like, oh no, don't use that. That apparently this is what.
So they even said apparently.
Apparently from where I beg. They're like, oh no, she's been watching all these doctors doing videos, just exposing. I said, okay, but my own doctor, whom I've been going to, whom so far, when I'm sick, I go there.
Yeah.
By the time he says 1, 2, 1, 2, I take it. I'm not sick again. If I'm sick again, I go there. You say another one, I discover that, wow, I'm not sick again.
Yeah.
And you said apparently.
Yeah.
Doctors in America said that we should stop doing. I said, sis, see, when will I start doing that? Between two of us, do we know what they mean?
Let me tell you something about Nigerian women. I say it all the time. We achieve.
They achieve.
We achieve.
They always achieve. Now, there are a couple of babes who are once again doing what? Achieving.
Yep.
It's the gals from Bolden. Okay. You know, always we put you on. And I don't think you guys are like catching what
They don't appreciate it.
They don't. But now we're putting you on. We've been using and trying out some products from Bolden. What do you like?
I love their dark spots fix. My enemies have been at work. And the Bolden lady said, don't worry, jolly baby. We got you.
Got you.
So I like their dark spot fix. I don't use that every night. I use it like every 3 nights. But what I really, really like and I use every single night is their cleanser, like the face wash. It's very gentle. It doesn't have like a strong scent and it does what it's supposed to do. It's not stripping too. Like, you know how your face, sometimes you use some things, then your face is not really dry. It's not really dry. No. It does what it's supposed to do. It's lovely, smells great, doesn't have any
all these weird things. Let me tell you what I use because these days I like to like feel like I'm into skincare.
Take me, please.
So the thing is, I use the eye patches because then you walk around. I make a point to walk around everywhere with the eye patches. Like I'm planning to step out because they're gold and so it's a vibe. I'm planning to actually step out with the eye patches to like, somewhere. Anyway, my dark circles are like going down and I'm quite enjoying.
Oh, I love to hear that.
You're just supposed to use it like once, twice. That's not how I use it, but that's how you're supposed to use it. And also the glow hydrating mask. Again, if you really
saying
want
it like that? What's the
glow hydrating mask? I feel like that's the feeling you get. Glow hydrating mask. Okay, it's because you don't know.
Okay,
but if you want to feel like you're really doing skincare, you're applying things. You know when your face, you know all those skincare videos where your face is now like glowy, dewy. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
When you've done it, that's how I feel.
Okay.
I have a glow. There's like a light on me, like a halo. That comes out naturally. I promise you, use this thing, you'll see the halo. Your character might be bad. I have a great character. So the halo is there for me. And the glow hydrating mask is just shining on.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they have a great collection of products. Those are the ones we've used and
I'm excited to like try.
To try more back.
Yeah.
But we want to hear what you think, what you like, what's working for you. We also love the fact that these are 2 Nigerian American women. Fun fact, they went to school together.
Really?
Lost touch, did MBAs, and they're married brothers.
Oh, wow. You see, doing things.
Achievements on many fronts.
Many fronts. Everybody's just involved. We love to see it.
Exactly.
Anyway, buy Bolden, use Bolden. Bye. So what are you talking? It's really, I mean, the internet is a phenomenal thing, but it actually brings up crazy.
My favorite thing is when I go to the pharmacy and maybe I've asked for something and then you see someone really doesn't know much, comes and asks the pharmacist. Pharmacist says, okay, these are 1, 2, 3 options. Maybe they say, oh, do you have a cheaper alternative? They say that. Then they now start questioning. And you can see the pharmacist trying to still be polite, to be like, big mommy, like, you can read the packaging, but you can't be asking me if it has tetracycline in it. Like, ma, I've given you my opinion. I tried to sell higher markets based on us trying to turn a profit. You said no. I gave you the cheaper medicine alternative. And now you want to argue with me about what it can and can't do for you. Mommy, please. And you didn't come with a prescription, by the way. You came to ask me as the professional. It's not like your doctor sent you with this. You came to say, oh, I have a cough cold. They've asked, you can even see the poor girl saying, "Oh my, is it a head cough, chest cough, both? Are you congested? No. Are you sneezing? Oh, do you sleep with fun?" They're really asking all the kind of questions that, but yeah, it's really, really interesting. But again, see, Justin is smart. So we talk about tons of stuff, but that's not why we're here.
That's actually not why we're here. But please, before that, this week we did two important things. First of all, yesterday we had our first film club.
That was so much. I'm very proud of us.
Yeah, it was so much fun. It was actually so much fun. There was such a lack of decorum in the room during the film that I really love. I mean, Nigerians talk in the cinema, but I feel like because we felt like we're amongst ourselves, if we were not careful, you would not have heard anything inside the actual film.
And we started well,
We did.
We started well.
We started
well.
Calm,
but then once the film kicked in, after the first act, it kind of kicks into high gear. And wow, they were
like people would come, actors would come out, and you just yell like, "Oh yeah." You're just thinking, I know what this cannot. It was really
it was fun.
So Red Circle was amazing. Please go and watch this when it comes out.
Actually, when is this coming out? No, this coming out on
Wednesday.
No, this is not coming out on Wednesday. But they can clip.
Okay, so it'll be out already. I hope you went to watch it.
Yeah.
And I also went to Falz's album listening, which was really, really a lot of fun. First of all, you should not have that many insane people in the room. There were we looked around and we all concluded that if we can count up to 3 people that have sense in this room, we've just left. I mean, I sat down here, but Brother Shaggy, here was Toby, Lai, Macaroni. I just thought, bro, nothing good can come out of this place. But it was a lot of fun and I really liked the album. Nice. So please, if you haven't, help us stream The Feast. Okay, that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about black tax.
Yep.
Do you know, someone was saying that why is it called black tax? Doesn't happen to everyone. And I was like, this is one of those things that we can fundamentally agree is not in the same way.
Not at all.
The form of it is so different that like we have to call it something else. It's not the same as all nations. And I was like, I need us to kind of please wake up. I said other people can relate. Indians can relate, certain cultures. But I was like, it is so...
This is black.
It's black. It's a black tax. And I'm like, when you even bring it down
and it's
to
global
Africa,
black. That's what makes it crazy.
When you even bring it down to Africa, it's now a more unique black African tax. But I was like, no, you can't. It's actually not the same.
No, it's black tax.
I was like, I went to school with men, white people. It has never been the same.
I even went to school with spicy whites. So spicy whites like Spanish.
Yeah,
French.
like it's actually...
They don't...
I knew people who were, on student loan in university, funding themselves, doing jobs to fund themselves, but their parents were like on unemployment, collecting unemployment checks. And in my mind, I couldn't fathom it because I just thought, but you're making money now. But like, there was no sense of, I'm sending. And I thought, what am I seeing here? But it was different because they're like, I live on my own. My mommy lives in Cornwall. I thought,
very different things. Even like seeing when I watched, and you don't realize how much your environment shapes your thinking.
Yes.
So maybe I'll just be watching surfing channels and maybe you see something, a footballer goes to visit his parents and maybe he's French. You now see his parents' house. I say it can never be an African. As you are collecting, I have collected. As you are collecting, I've collected. You see, if you become a footballer, let me hear that your mommy didn't do Thanksgiving. You as an outsider, you wonder, what does it have to do with her? What does it have to do with her? She has made it. Yeah.
My mom was on the phone and her friend, she was on speaker, was now saying to me, she saw Toronto, congratulations, or Ekwa, congratulations. I said, sorry. Why did you congratulate my mom? She said, she's not part of it. Maybe she gave birth to you. She didn't give birth to you. How can you do? I said what I said. I said, you know what? Fair and also valid.
Fair.
Congrats to you, to my sister. Because she's just like, my dear, if you blow, I don't know. It's me that will impact the most.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's really interesting. And the last time Justin came, we had a very in-depth conversation and for people who haven't listened, We had an episode about 5 years ago.
Go and listen to it. It's actually like...
Yes, it's very insightful and interesting.
It's really interesting. And I feel like it's one of the ones that people go back to listen to a
100%.
lot. Yeah.
I remember the reaction after that was shocking to even Justin, where people were like messaging him to be like, you're such an inspiration to me. He said,
Do you know, even till now, when like people talk about favorite episodes, they're just like, oh,
top 10.
When Vunderkind came on, I'm
top
like,
10.
It really inspired many of
I honestly have no idea why, but I feel supremely flattered. Like,
it was really good, but so many people were like, as in, people are deeply moved.
Yeah. No, because it was. And
it was.
I'm not surprised.
Because you come across so like casually, just
very chill.
It seems very chill that maybe you don't realize the impact of what you're saying.
No, 100%. Because the reason why we had that conversation was I told Kemi flat out. We were at work and we were talking about stuff, and all of a sudden, I then realized that, Justin has a very different, his money is going to very different places. Yeah. So that was when Justin is a firstborn. And that was when I realized like, firstborn is different from firstborn. Because he was talking about his siblings' school fees. And as I kept saying, what do you mean? And so it's like school fees, how are they going to take care of myself, then parents? And keep in mind, Justin worked multiple jobs. When I knew him, and it was multiple serious jobs because he was already heading a department in our office. Yes, it was a small office, but it was a big responsibility. And then he would have another job and a third job. And then Justin would say, I need to figure out how I'm going to do something very small for himself. And I first went to, let me not lie, I went to gossip to somebody that is Justin on crack. Because it doesn't because I know he has 3 jobs. And I know that
where's the money?
Yes, and I know that tech bros are into drugs. So just, you can level with me. Is it cocaine? Is it pills?
What is his money that is ruining his life?
Because Justin will want to do a small thing for him. No, you guys, I don't know how to explain it to you. Imagine like finding out that you are working with your friend, you earn 250K, but your friend has 3 other jobs. That means that their total salary is like 1.2 million. No problem. Then we're talking about, it's Friday. You know what Friday is? Shawarma and suya day. And then the friend in question says, I can only buy suya. Of course! You have to call somebody to the side.
Cocaine.
And says, no.
Say, let's cocaine me.
And you know the way Justin talks very robotically. So everything would make sense to me. I said, level with me. Just tell me. And they were just like, no, like Justin has a lot of responsibilities. And that's when I just went and we started talking. And he literally, very honestly, he just started breaking things down for me. And I just thought, this is wild. Like, this is very wild. Because this is what made it odd to me. Yeah. He wasn't complaining. Yeah. It was just factual. Like, I have my siblings' school fees to pay. And we were much younger at the time. You know, it's different when you're in your 30s if you're paying school fees.
Yeah.
When you're in your mid-20s.
When it's like, sorry, when did you leave school?
Yes. And, I just thought it was really important to hear about what that does and how that affects. Mm-hmm. So if salaries come late, and your only responsibility is you, you're like, it's annoying.
Yeah.
But if there are multiple people, and it's like a chain reaction, because mind you, this money he was sending home is going to other places too. So your late salary is not just that your parents are using you as a buffer. It means like grandparents, uncles and aunties are calling, and it's just a lot of pressure. And there's somebody, I remember there was one instance where there was somebody in the hospital and Justin was that's probably the most flustered I've ever seen him because he felt like, I have to figure this thing out. And I'm very facetious. So in my mind, I was thinking, let's pray. Let's pray for Auntie. Let's pray for Auntie. But I just remember thinking, and then I was like, the podcast was newer. So I was like, will you come and talk on the podcast? I was like, sure. Said, all right. And we dragged him and we had a fantastic conversation.
It was really, really good. Like, there's some episodes that I'm like, no, you know what? Foresight. Very important.
Yeah. And so what we've done is, we'll still recap some of the stuff we spoke about, but we asked people to send in a combination of their dilemmas and personal stories and experiences with Black tax. I think we talk about it I think it's become such an integral part of our culture in a way that to assuage a lot of people's guilt around it. We frame it as something that the bearer of the responsibility is 100% willing participant in, and they're using it to kind of get some sort of spiritual blessings. Yeah. There's a way we frame it because we're trying to also eliminate sort of like the shame and discomfort. particularly if it's like your parents, grandparents relying on you and not siblings who it's a bit more understandable, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a way we frame this, particularly in our context, where you make it a responsibility of the child in this instance, but then you also you put a lot of spiritual and cultural positive connotations around it.
Yeah.
In that, if the person is unable to, they are ashamed of that incapacity.
Yeah.
Or if they refuse to, they are living under the fear of some sort of spiritual or social repercussions, right? Yeah. So that is why people, all this idea of you just can't say no, it's just like, oh, but God blesses people who bless others, and you have a responsibility to your family, and you know the curse of the father will something to the son. And so you're just, they are living in fear. And also like there's also the way we just had so many interesting things, the way it frames your relationship. So how your family reacts to you when you're able to, as opposed to when you're not, how they're able to guilt trip you, what that does to your self-esteem, how that changes your relationship with said siblings. If I pay your school fees, I'm your daddy.
Yeah.
You're not my sibling
There's
again.
a dynamic that if you're not very, very, very intentional, starts to shift in a very weird way for everybody involved. So we have a few. I've been trying to like see which one to start with. Okay, this one is not that serious, but it's kind of funny, so I'm going to read it. A friend in stupid. Hi guys, love you so much, and also shout out to the Bounce community. The comment section is always hilarious. This is a story of how I foolishly put my friend through school.
Oh my God.
So my parents paid for my schooling up to masters. In my undergrad, I had a friend who had a salon in her hostel and was putting herself through school. I always felt sorry for her, so I would give her money and food all the time. I honestly don't know when our dynamic became that she would take my stuff without asking. I mean, clothes and food. She knew my ATM pin and used to withdraw money from my account all the time. I convinced myself that this is normal, like sisters do, because I always wanted a sister, but she rarely bought me anything. However, she was loyal and could be counted on, or so I thought. Immediately after uni, she opened up her own really nice salon. I was like, babe, where did you see this money? She literally told me that she has never spent a penny she was given by her parents for school fees and food and had just lived off me. My mouth fell open. When I confronted her about lying, she said that next time I should be wise and more careful with money. I've never gotten over the trust issues. Love you guys.
That is insane.
You guys, what? I mean, that's such a violation that I don't even know what to do. I think because you allowed this babe to believe that like your parents were giving you money and you were destitute and putting yourself through school. Meanwhile, you were just saving everything.
You know what makes that kind of thing so scary is that there's a naivety that comes with being like a lot of Nigerians go to uni. Yeah, a lot of Nigerians go to university at like 16-ish, 17-ish. If you're able to go straight, so you're like 16, 17. And there's a sort of like, there's a deception you just don't expect from people like that. There's a degree of deception that you're just walking into the world so blind. Yeah. It cannot occur to you that your fellow 16 or 17-year-old...
Who told you that she's putting herself through school? That's why she's doing hair in her hostel.
Yeah.
That person is a psychopath. I'm sorry.
That would actually, as in, run me mad. Because I don't understand.
That's psychopathy.
In her mind, oh, this is your sister. All of a sudden, just imagine you now open a salon and you're thinking, who did this investment? Only for you to say, I should have been wise.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with someone who calls themselves self-imposed black tax. Who says, greetings to my favorite girls and Justin. She didn't say Justin, she said the guest. So I'm not sure if this is a dilemma or maybe I need a second opinion. Basically, I'm the first daughter in my family and my family hustled their way to take me to the UK for my degree. I got a great job after graduation that paid me some big bucks. And though they didn't put any pressure on me, I felt it was my duty to treat my family back home to nice and extravagant things when there was a birthday or special occasion. The pounds I was earning put me in a fantastic position to do these things for my family, particularly when you change it to Naira back home. Unfortunately for me, I am now unemployed and very broke. Life is incredibly dynamic. Though everyone in my family understands my situation, so they don't ask for anything or expect anything. But I feel like a big failure or disappointment because I'm not able to give them the things I was able to when I'm employed. It's giving grace to grace and I'm very embarrassed. Is this a first daughter thing? Am I okay? I think this is fine.
Yeah.
This is normal. Like you are doing nice things for your family because you could. But the reason I want us to read this is that the context in which that feeling of shame when you've gotten used to being able to do, once you're not able to, once there's a break in transmission, once your life changes in a way that means maybe you have other new obligations, the feeling that follows and leads to desperation or changes the way you kind of interact is something I've always sort of wondered about or wanted to ask a lot of people about. Even there's a bit in Red Circle, there's a bit in the film that exact thing kind of happens. And I don't know, I just have always wished people spoke a bit more about that part. Because it's all fine and good when you're still able to.
When you're not, then it becomes really, really...
Like what does it do to your psyche? But Justin, what's your answer to it? Do you have an answer for?
Yeah, so I was thinking about the circumstances around it, right? So clearly this person derives like some form of self-worth from being financially, dependable.
Mm-hmm.
And the real disadvantage here is, and again, this is particular to the sender, to the person who sent this request, is I wonder if it's your family affirming that or if it's you affirming that. So, because one can be that you genuinely place yourself, like your own intrinsic value to yourself is when you can provide, that, right?
Yeah.
But there's also the part where your family, they use like very subtle messaging to make you feel that you're only worth anything
when you can provide.
If it's the latter, then I can understand why this person feels this way. It might be that in the interval that this first daughter no longer provides, maybe the second daughter is providing, and then she can tell that the family favors the other person more.
Yeah.
And that can then affect just your feeling of self-worth. If it's the second, then you're in a toxic thing and you need to address it. But if it's...
But how do you address this kind of thing?
So I think that so I do have some experience here. So I'm going to just tap into my personal experience here. Like in general, when that kind of thing happens, you should force yourself to ignore it, like completely ignore it. So if you were like the breadwinner in your family, something happened to you, you fell off, your other sibling then you're not aware of a pattern that from the perspective of your family, you are all interchangeable.
Yeah.
And the only true value is like your ability to provide. If that happens for you, then you should, even when you then finally get back on your feet, right, understand that this is your true value within the family. It's unfortunate, but that's your true value in the family. And you should be as dispassionate about it. Right? Because your family is reacting to like a systemic problem in the sense that your family kind of has also been designed by some economic forces or your family set up that the only child that they consider worth
is the child that's bringing money.
Yeah, and that's a bad setup, but it's also like I want to say like a very pragmatic setup, And you can't get too mad at it, but you need to now mentally disengage from your feeling of self-worth. Because sure, it makes sense that they act and behave like that, but it shouldn't like then guide how you do things. So going forward, you should prioritize doing a job because it makes you happy, not because it puts you in a position to be financially supportive of your family. So you're prioritizing your mental health, your personal. So you're still providing for the family, but now the things that drive that provision then come from your own personal wellness, right? So maybe I worked at a bank and I did not really like banking, but at least I could make money and send home. You could quit the job, do whatever it is you wanted to do. If it makes you money, then you turn to being a provider. If you don't, you just explore your path. Actually, that advice applies even to like if it's not your family driving, if it's you, like just do what you like doing. If you incidentally become a provider, that's great. And if you don't, and you feel bad about it, you need to interrogate why you feel bad about it. Because in reality, like separate from your family and separate from you, your true worth in life is not a function of how much you earn. It's one of those things that there are legible indicators. What I mean by legible indicators, if I look at Jolana, if I look at you, it's kind of hard for me to place you. Yeah. But it's easier for me to place you if I knew your self-worth, your how much you're worth, where you work, what you do. So all of those things become proxies for self-worth, but they're not true self-worth. Like you can be the poorest person in the world and have like a very strong sense of self-worth.
And you can be very rich and be deeply insecure.
Yes, exactly. So when you realize this kind of dynamic, it's like the universe telling you to recalibrate how you think about your own personal self-worth, and you should take that very seriously. That's what I think.
Wow, very interesting.
Quick question: Was there a time when you recognized this thing like in yourself, or?
Yes. So, I think shortly after I'm the first child, so the third one, my brother Jordan, right? Shortly after my brother Jordan finished school, he became a software engineer, and he just had like this really. I was very, very proud of him, by the way. Yeah, had like this quick uptake and everything. He became. earn way more money than me. Like it was pretty insane, you know. And I could actually see the shift, the dynamic, like in my family. Like
so now he's like the big boy.
Yeah, like I could see it. And so for context, I'm very oblivious. So when I say I could see, I really did not see it. I found it after the fact. Let me be honest.
What do you mean you found out?
Yeah, I'm about to explain. I think maybe if I had found out in real time, then maybe I would have felt bad. You know, I'd have felt like I've kind of been supporting this family for very long. So because my brother, you know, now nobody's calling me anymore, you know, that kind of thing. Well, I did not even notice it when it happened at the time. I found out like much later, and it was another member of my family that told me like, oh, you don't know that when Jordan began, like your family, I was like, yeah, I don't notice any of these things. But I do think that if I had been aware, I would have felt like this person, which is why I'm giving this advice. Like if I had felt it, I would have felt that way. But so it didn't happen for me that way. And shortly after, I too became a software engineer, and then I began to earn a lot more, you know. So I did not have the opportunity to know how that would have affected me
for long.
And I only found out after the fact. But I think just knowing that the kind of person I am, I think it would have affected me really negatively. And so the advice I'm giving is the kind of belated advice that I gave myself when I found out after the fact. Exactly.
I also have a quick question. Do you think you're being used to like the expectation of provision affected like romantic relationships?
That's a very good question.
Like to be a provider in the context of relationships.
Yeah,
too?
I just want to know
did you have that pressure?
Or how was your mind? How did you think of relationships? So for instance, like I know I have male friends who just thought of potential. They just had this line of a good relationship is potential family, and that's more money. And so they just didn't, for a long time, they just really weren't interested in having any solid or happy relationship.
Or like there'll be a type of babe that they're like, no. I can't even move near. Not even in the sense that the babe is like a vulture or something. They're just like, this lifestyle, no chance.
So I like rituals, and I don't mean like actual killing people.
I was going to say that. I think that should be clarified.
I think that in anything in life, like the rituals and customs and you know procedures kind of dampen the crassness of certain things. So what I mean is, if you're in a relationship with someone, at least from my perspective, and maybe this is because of the whole like financial responsibility, I tend to expect that I will be a provider. I just kind of expect that I'll be a provider. But I also don't want the person that I'm providing for to act like they expect that I'll be a provider. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's what I mean about culture and customs and everything. Like
there's a little dance.
Yeah, there's a dance around it. Like, we do need
like,
that
we all
dance.
know what's going on, but like let's not be so crass about it.
Yeah, precisely. That's how I think about it, right? So I think that I have been pretty good at selecting my partners. Right. So I tend to know these people like very well before I date them, instead of like, so I was telling something very recently about like, a friend of mine was telling me about his problems with like dating apps and everything. And he was giving me the procedure and I was mortified. I'm not even kidding. Like he was telling me how dating apps work and I was completely scandalized, because it's like you meet somebody, you have like surface level bullshit conversation and then you go have dinner or whatever and everything. And then you decide if you want to date. My guy, I will lie through my teeth. Like from the beginning to the very end, you will know nothing about me.
And they do lie.
Yeah, like I was like, you're complaining that the dating put the piece inside it, but look at the procedure you're following. Clearly, it's very bad.
And like the only indicators you have when you're selecting them, by the way, is like 5 pictures.
Yeah,
so like all your context, you have to draw it from inside. Small things like, and then the thing is that people will do small things like, okay, maybe you went to masters at a school that you put down where you went to uni, or that you went to one secondary school in Ilorin, you won't put it. That master's gone, you put it. Now let's say you did chemical engineering. Whether you failed, you didn't fail.
It's chemical engineering.
You put computer science. That was it did. Where do you work? Oil and gas. Meanwhile, you don't do. So it's just. It's crazy. You now have to start looking for mutual friends up and down. Who knows this individual?
So few data points for such a serious decision you're about to make. So basically, like in my romantic life so far, I would say that I have been pretty lucky. I don't think anyone I've been with has like had explicit expectations for me to provide. But also I have just been very open to the idea of being a provider. Like I generally don't mind. It also helps that I'm kind of I'm kind of like deficient in the emotional support aspect of it. So I mean, I try. Like I do try. It's not
I
like
don't think you're that bad.
I think you're so self-aware that it will be hard for you to be as bad as you think.
Yeah, I think what Justin does well is so he's not warm and cuddly.
Yes.
Right? But because he's very solution-oriented, solution-driven, but it's just not in a harsh way. It's just Justin is not warm and cuddly and not for very long. Like he's not, this Bele can only go on
for so long.
Like, and by so long, I mean a couple of minutes before
like he then 2 hour cuddling, bro.
Before he then says, considering what we're, and he won't say it like that. He say, considering what we're facing here, I do think that's how he talks. That is what Justin will say.
You're still wailing, and it's like.
And that's as a friend. So I imagine in a romantic setup, the babe is just counting that, okay, I have 2 more minutes of this pele before Justin is going to start trying to figure out.
The kind of guy that you have to beg, like, see, I actually need 20 minutes of venting. Don't be annoyed. When this 20 minutes, don't say any sensible thing. Just be saying, yeah, that's crazy.
You know what is funny? Because I'm thinking about my girlfriend listening to this episode, and I'm thinking that she's gonna be like, nah, you guys don't get me. Because I'm the one who vents.
Really?
I do. No. I vent a lot. I just don't vent in public.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's
but
good.
I'm constantly annoyed. I'm just constantly annoyed and I'm complaining about something.
Yeah.
And she's the one who is just like, let's solve it. Let's figure out the problem. Like,
fair.
I need to vent before I even think about this problem because it's pissing me off.
Personally, I do that. Like, if I know that I'm about to go on a long rant, I always say to whoever is listening that, please, let me finish. I know where we are going to. I must get this out.
Yeah.
And I must get it out in a way where you're saying, chai.
Yeah.
Then when we finish, you can now start saying, okay, but this is the logic. In this moment, that logical, I've switched off my brain.
Yeah.
Cool. This is a bad person. You agree with me. Finish. Okay, I have another one. New money, new problems. Hello, my babes and guests, if any. First of all, thank you for considering us in America for your live show. Your company no go bunny, men, my sister. Now, to my problem. I'm coming into money I've never touched before in my life.
Ooh.
I mean, I earn a pretty decent amount and I'm able to deal with the black tax that comes with being the firstborn daughter in an immigrant household.
Yeah.
Now, you may ask how I got into the money. I was in an accident, but didn't have health insurance at that time. So I had to get a pro bono lawyer to find a way to get my medical bills paid, at least only for him, that's the lawyer, to say that I'm entitled to more because I had to go to PT. And I stopped working for a while, for about 6 weeks and all that.
Yeah.
The lawyer set up a meeting for the offer. And I'm not sure how much it is in total, but the lower limit of what I can get is at least $30,000.
Damn.
How do I deal with my family's lofty and increasing expectations of me? I mean, I earn good money, but I'm 30 and I haven't moved out of my parents' house because I'm worried I won't be able to meet up with financial support for my siblings and parents if I do. Since the meeting with my lawyer was scheduled, I've been so anxious to the extent that I can't sleep. It's 2 a.m. as I'm typing this. I have plans for myself. I'm 30 with nothing nice to show for it because I'm always putting everyone else first.
Yeah.
I have plans to invest and do something nice for myself. How do I communicate this to my family without sounding selfish? At least I know I'm never going to stop doing my part to make sure my siblings are stable and my parents are working less as they get older.
Yeah.
By the time you'll be possibly reading this, I would have had my meeting with my lawyer to know what the final offer is.
You lie. You lie and lie till you can lie no more. Your lawyer, you're probably going to get around 50K. You're probably not going to get the higher end of the scale.
Because in America, they hate anything because they sue.
Yeah, so pro bono lawyer.
They're going to give you that money, honey.
Your pro bono lawyer is free. But if you're a person of good character...
Yeah. No. Most of the lawyers, if he wins, he's already getting a cut.
Yeah, he gets a cut. Or you can, I don't know, your lawyer might actually ask for his own fees separate. Yeah. Whatever. Let me tell you, my sister, you're getting, you look at your parents dead in the face, they give me $10,000. Dead in the face. $10,000 is what they gave me.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Because before you people entered any money, they had a number everybody was okay with it.
Everybody was okay.
$10,000.
Before you even knew that the money was coming, you've already been taking care of them.
Yeah.
So now there's a small bump. I can't lie, I fully agree.
You lie.
And it's not because you hate them. You are doing it already. And I'm glad you're not saying you want to all of a sudden stop. Keep doing the one you're doing. Now there's a bump in money. Everybody knows that there's a bump in money. I got 10K. Let them divide it in their head. That okay. We'll collect 6.
She'll keep 4. Yes.
She'll keep 4.
Yes.
Quietly do the rest of your own. Don't be talking too much.
All those things that make you shy. You know the thing is, you're not even leaving the house. But you see those investments that you're embarrassed you don't have.
Go and do it.
You just quickly do it. Quietly. But you see, my sister, if you're 30 years old and you haven't left home because you're worried about your family, I already know the type of temperament you have.
Yes, I do.
You need to, you see this time that you're using not to sleep, stand in the mirror and start practicing your lie. You need to start
because you're going to be shaking when you're lying. Let me tell you, you know what the best thing is to do? Lawyers, they lie a lot. Lawyers, they are into lying.
Yeah.
Let your lawyer have a meeting with your family. Tell that man or a woman that
do the letter.
Lawyer.
Let the lawyer do the letter for you.
No, they won't write it down. That's a lie.
Okay, true. That's a legal lie.
Tell that lawyer, Sama, I need you to please announce to these people. Say, congratulations, family. This is what they will lie. Don't worry. No, yourself.
I think you need to.
Because I just think the truth is that it will be doing you somehow. But if you tell them that you got 30K, the way the money will finish, you will hate not just them, but also yourself.
Yeah. And to what you said, to what you said about knowing the kind of person she is, I mean, it's kind of known that firstborn children are adult pleasers.
Yes.
Right? And I think it's worse. Yeah. I think it's worse for firstborn daughters.
We are.
And that's
for sure.
Yeah. And that's because there's a measure of disagreeableness that boys can tap into in certain cultures that women just don't have access to. So a boy can just give the middle finger to his parents. Yeah. And it won't be too much. Like, boys are insane, right? But if it's a girl, then it's like a whole event.
It's a huge thing about
it's like a whole
your character and everything.
Yeah. And so the fact that she's been home this long, right, kind of tells me that if she wanted to weigh like the whole thing, she's going to come on the side of, my family has been really good to me, right? And they deserve, like, now that something good has happened to me, I need to pay back some of that, goodwill that my family has given to me. And that's like the exactly wrong way to think about it, I think, right? I know that this person might be compensating not to come across as mean and cruel, which means that even lying will probably destroy this person mentally. Sure. I think that lying and feeling that guilt, like, why am I hiding this from my family, is going to be something that this person has to, grapple with. Right? So it won't be just as easy for them to just lie. It's just going to be difficult because of the kind of person that they are. I would say that this is an opportunity for them to actually put their foot down, right? I think putting your foot down is excruciating, but it can mark the beginning of like putting your foot down in general, because anything you do in one context kind of generalizes. If you can't put your foot down with your family, then you'll be exploited at work. It just kind of compounds. So I would say, me personally, and again, I'm coming from the privilege of being a guy, so it's very easy for me to do this. And that's what I wanted to say. I can put my foot down and say, this money, this settlement came in. I'm in my 30s.
So you'd actually tell them, this is...
and I'm moving out. Thank you for the fish.
Yeah.
Goodbye. I might give them like a very small amount of it, but for the most part, I wouldn't tell them the amount, by the way, right? But I also wouldn't lie about the amount. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't tell them the amount, but I wouldn't lie about the amount either. I would say, I got some money. There's no need for anybody to know. Here's something. I'm going to rent an apartment. I'm going to do everything. And then I will do it, The reason why I do it this way is that it allows any other person, any other stakeholder in this conversation to reveal their hand.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, if any of everything I've just said does not sit right with you, you're my up. Do you know? And I want you to expose yourself to be my up. Yeah, I want you to reveal yourself to be my up, so I can finally show you who I am when I have an enemy.
Justin.
No, but that's
I love that.
Justin said,
where have we got into?
We are in warfare.
He said, this is the art of war.
No, Justin, this is the most Yoruba sounding thing you've ever said. As an Edo man, I have to tell you, wow. This is where Yoruba will say,
it's giving don't worry. That I led a trap and you fell into it.
No, but I do that a lot. Here's the thing. When people are talking, whenever people are having conversations, they always dance around the main issue, but they never really address the issue. Everybody's very, there's this, I want to say, sophistry in the way people discuss, And I just wanted to get there.
Yes.
Let's just get to the thing. Because once we get to the thing, we can be very explicit, and I'm very explicit. Like when I talk to people, I'm very clear. Like I just tell them, this is how I feel about the thing. So I'm going to ask, for example, so let's assume that I did get the settlement and I'm like, yeah, I'm not telling you whatever the amount is, nobody's business, but I'm giving, let's assume I got the 50K settlement and I'm giving $3,000 home, right? Very, very small amount of money. 3,000.
Did they have it before?
Yeah, exactly. So 3,000, don't worry about the amount. It's like, how dare you? Am I not your father? Am I not your mom? Didn't I raise you? When did this start? When you were 4, do you know how much money I used to put you in school? Okay. You know, like I'm just going, okay. So what do you want me to do? Let's spend this money and I'm still living with you. Do you want me to be your dependent forever? I'm telling you that this particular event has given me what I need to bootstrap my life.
Yeah. And to course correct.
So why are you annoyed that I'm not telling you how much it is? Like, it's my settlement. Like, your name is not on the thing. Like, and I'm not even...
She had an accident.
Yeah, like, the truth of the matter is, even if you have like well-intentioned parents, right? There's just something that happens when money comes in. Like, it reveals like base natures people didn't even know they had, you know? And so when somebody like your offspring then has like this particular situation and context, you shouldn't give your family the opportunity to sink to the lowest part. Like, you shouldn't give them, because if you do, you'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
Like, you will be.
You have to protect them from themselves.
You protect them from the worst forms of themselves, you know? And that means you have to put your foot down, you know? Eventually, like, it might be painful in the first year or two, but I promise you, like, in 5 years, your family will respect you for it. And you will think back and be like, yeah, that was the best possible thing I could have done. You know?
I like that. I would, as a recovering people pleaser, I will go with the lie. But if you can't...
Let me not lie to you. I heard everything you said. I'm looking at my own family lying like mad.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, I know some part of this is for my own.
You know why? Because I have the sort of family that the issue will summarily become, why didn't you? You don't want to tell us. You hate us. You don't trust. Okay, this is what I've done. Beats me now.
Yeah.
So honestly, it's just, but money is so weird. And sometimes it really like annoys me that it just causes so many issues.
Yeah.
Hello, boys and girls. So we need you to actually, do the needful and subscribe. Like, share with everybody. Share with your crush, your mom, your grandpa. Thanks. Love ya.
I have a great one. This person calls themselves FK Silent Laugh, who says, my husband-to-be is the ATM of his family, and I'm just woefully looking into my future, not sure he will prioritize everyone else above our family. My man has always been heavily relied upon by his family, not just parents, but also sisters and cousins. I just want to know that I will be a top priority. He doesn't necessarily neglect me, and I understand his role, but I just hope it's not a problem in the future for our kids. He's not even the firstborn. He just happens to be doing better than the others. And I'm worried that his sisters won't find the necessary boundaries they need to have when we get married and will keep coming to him for everything. And once someone that's close asks for money and continues to ask, it's very hard to say no. Yeah. The thing is, I'm African-American and he's Nigerian. I don't want to be the wife that comes in between the family, but this for me is a very genuine concern. How do I talk to him about this without coming across as spiteful?
There is no way, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, there's no way.
We are literally about to say the same thing. The thing, that coming across, she will come across.
You're going to come across, don't worry about it.
She will come across. No, you have to say it, but if you're looking for the way you say it, that you won't come across, you will come across. What we should now do is deal with what you would do after coming across. Because as for coming across as spiteful, my sister, you are there.
Do you know why? Do you know why it makes it even harder? He has all sisters.
There's so many things that are making it hard for you. Number one, you're not Nigerian. It doesn't matter actually in the fact, but they will use it. That's see now, you came from somewhere. All of a sudden. Number two, like the thing you said of they should find the boundaries. If he doesn't build the boundary for them, they can never find it. Why will I? My brother is funding my life. You see me, I should find the boundary. He's the one that has to say, hey, listen, everybody, I'm married now. Thank you so much. This is what we're going to be doing now. And if he doesn't do that, they can never on their own. Just imagine me, the beneficiary of my own accord. And I'll say, oh no, he's marrying. Let me start having sense. No.
Nah,
Sis, you came here to join us.
Most importantly, let me tell you something about sisters and brothers. We can manipulate them like mad.
I know him better than you. Don't worry.
Like mad.
Don't worry.
If a sister who a brother has a soft spot for wants to manipulate that man, you as the wife, there's very little you can do.
Very little, because you'll be twisting, except your brother has decided that, listen, these are my priorities. And not that, obviously, his sister doesn't hate them, but like this, I find all these kind of dynamics when it comes to you marrying someone else, when it comes to dealing with your partner's family, they have to be the one to set the tone. You cannot dictate to somebody else's family members because they know how they will deal with them. So unless, and you didn't mention if he's willing to or not, but he's the one that has to call it to order with his sisters and his family. If not, also, I fear that you don't know yet if you're going to be priority or not. This is actually my own primary concern, because I wish what you were saying was, he prioritizes me. I'm just worried about like how it will be. You're actually concerned that it's possible that his boundaries are not that firm.
Yeah.
And so all of you are dragging the matter. Yeah. So I think know.
Yeah, I think that the problem here is the kind of man that he is. So there's a kind of man, and I used to be that kind of person, so I kind of get it. Is because he has played some kind of provider role in the past, he becomes blind to hierarchy of provision, right? So it's like anybody that needs anything from him gets it. He doesn't have like a priority queue where it's like my wife first before my family. It's just if anybody needs money, if anybody needs money, they'll get it from me. That's the role I've come to play in life.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. And the wife might be picking up on that, you know? So maybe sometimes she needs something and it's like, I promised somebody that I was going to do this. And then she's like, in the priority queue, why is this person? Then he's like, person asked first. But that's not like a good heuristic for the you know, like, I know this because I used to be like that, you know, but you should first start, you should have like a kind of bias for your family, and your family starts with your wife, you know, before you then extend outwards into your nuclear family, into your extended family. And your extended family shares the same boundaries as regular strangers on the internet, by the way. And that's my primary argument, right? So yeah, like they share the same boundaries. So if I would give a stranger on the internet, like I'll do giveaway, and I'll probably give to like some distant cousin, you know, that's fine. But for the most part, it's my wife first, you know, my kids, then my parents, then my siblings. That's the hierarchy. Even parents before siblings.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they are able-bodied people. That's something I must always remember. Yeah. And then extended family. And then strangers, you know.
Yeah, you will come across, my sister.
You will come across. If it's coming across, you already, in fact, you cross by yourself.
Yeah.
So that you know that why you are here, because you are spiteful. Yes, you are. As far as they are concerned, of course, you are ruining their lives.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know, but I just think that in these kinds of situations, I hate when the burden is always on the person that is not in the family to set a boundary.
Yeah. It's because the other person just doesn't see it as anything else. Like,
actually,
you know, I can't see something. It's only if a friend says to you, why does your sister talk to you like that? Sometimes you don't realize how rude.
Yeah.
How entitled your family is until somebody who is a third party says, oh, that's crazy. Like, and then, or until you're exposed to a different way of living, you don't actually recognize. I wanted to ask, in terms of the twins have finally finished school. You know, the last time we had this, Justin was paying university school fees for twins, and they finally finished school.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask, like, how, if it has, what do you say your relationship arc with your siblings has been like prior to taking on financial responsibilities, through the process? Like, I just want to know, because I have no context. The most I do for my brothers is gifts, right?
Yeah,
so I want to know.
So I would say that it has been surprisingly dramatic. So in all honesty, I did not consider like the second order effect of being financially responsible for siblings, especially in their very young age. Let me tell you what is going to happen. They will build no muscle. They will build no capacity to be self-reliant. Now, I guess I was a bit naive in my assumptions. So I used to tell my father, like when I was young, I used to tell him that me struggling through school did not make me the person that I am today. And that's like a big argument I've always had with my dad. But that's like, it literally did. I'm like, no. And I'm like, look, if I had not struggled through school, I was like, look, I'm a smart person, right? Which means that if I was like really comfortable, I would have just gone to school, studied, and I would be exactly where I am. It's like, nope. It's like, it's not true. That has my smart has nothing to do with the fact that I work. That being able to sit and work and endure like, insults from employers, bad days and everything is a
deep
function of
discomfort.
Yeah, it's a function of grit. You have to have exposed yourself at a very young age to criticism, right? So that you don't have like rejection sensitivity, And it was like, I like that you don't want your siblings to experience what you went through, but what is going to happen is that they have no real concrete model of the world and it will affect them down the line. Unfortunately, he was correct, right? And I don't say this enough because I'm always like when it comes to like my interaction with my dad, I'm always like his meanness up, right? I'm always disagreeing with the way he raised me because I have feedback, You
have notes.
Yeah, so it pains me to say that he was correct because I've talked to my siblings post-school and they just don't seem to know what they want to do with their lives. Not only that, they're also resistant to someone wanting to guide them, And so I'm watching them just flail through life. And one of the things that I did was I started to cut them off from finances. I did, yeah.
I don't think, how did that go? I can't imagine it went that well.
Yeah, it didn't go that well. I can give you more context. Like, I was paying school fees for one of them for 4 years, did not go to school. I'm not even kidding, So by the time I found out, like it was in final year, his twin sister. Yeah. So his twin sister tells me, I'm graduating, but this other guy is not graduating. And I'm like, so I call him and he tells me, I was never interested in school. I always wanted to be a musician and everything.
Hey!
And so,
hey, Jim.
No. What is amusing to me in this particular event was, I was like, okay, but I did not tell you to go to school.
Yeah, like why didn't you just say something?
Because you're talking to me now like I said you must go to school. But no, you told me you wanted to go to school and I paid your fees. Like
you could have also just revealed that.
If you didn't want to go to school, I'm good with it. Like I'm so good with it. Like if you didn't want to go to school, because he was like nobody really asked him. I was like, no, me, I didn't. Look, my guy, you wanted to go to school. I was providing the funds.
Yeah,
we have a very implicit social contract here. You go to school and you graduate and then you're fine. And then I lost my voice. I was yelling. Like, I'm not even kidding.
True, Justin.
I was mad. I saw red.
Do you know what is crazy? Right? Is that for you guys who don't know, so Fekemi and I met Justin at the beginning of this thing. So Justin found out about this thing years after this podcast episode. So I can't imagine because we had this discussion. The first time I met Justin around the time the twins were doing Jam.
Yeah.
I believe just around that. So you came to the podcast around the time it was. I remember
it was the beginning.
It was like, okay, Justin, you're about to start paying
it was the beginning.
Yeah.
It was the beginning. So what do you mean he didn't go to school for 4 years?
So
what was he using your money to do?
What was the reason he didn't just say, I'm into music?
Look, to me, that is just
an aside.
I think that because while I was in school, I did a lot of things. I did music, right? I had like a mixtape.
Stop it!
I would not see the light of day. I used to perform like actual performance. Like I'll perform on stage. And while there I was learning programming, I used to teach like these content marketing courses, like for people. I did like a whole lot of things. In my final year, I wasn't even in Benin. Like for the most part, I was in Ondo State designing for like a company, and I used to just come in for exams.
Yeah,
and still I had a 2-1. You know, and I think that for my siblings, the reason why my brother, for example, was not very serious with that was because he has like a mental fallback. If you understand what I mean,
there's a safety net.
The way that I worked through school was I knew that if I did not nail a bunch of things, I was done. Like this was always my belief that I'm done. If I can't figure out who I am, I'm done. There's nobody that's going to house me. There's nobody who is going to give me pocket money. I barely had pocket money in school. I was seeing myself through school at the time. And so for the most part, I think that's why I say I think that my father was right in retrospect. When I think about it, is I kind of projected some virtue on my siblings that I did not really see.
So it was I think what it is, and this happens with most people, it's how parents who realize they coddle their children in retrospect because of how they wish they had been parented.
Yes, that's exactly what happened to me. So whenever my siblings asked me for money, I would just dispatch, I would grumble a bit sometimes just to put on the facade. My father will say, when you are sending money to your children, to the kids, tell me, and I wouldn't tell him. He said because he wants to make sure that he doesn't duplicate. Because my father sometimes sends money.
Okay.
And I'll be like, they can never have too much. So if that is duplicated, it's fine.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I used to say. So I didn't used to tell my dad.
Because that was your dream when you were in school. Yeah.
So I used to tell my dad, you know, I was hoping that, you know, if I send them money, my father is going to send them money. They will be fine.
Yeah.
You know, but I find that, you know, they genuinely don't have any mental model of the world. Genuinely speaking, you know, my sister lives with me, you know, and I have been trying to like mentor her and everything. It just hasn't taken. It's actually like supremely crazy. Like it just hasn't taken, and I got increasingly. So one thing that this is what I was speaking about venting. I get increasingly frustrated. I get very angry, you know, and then to preserve my own mental health, I just act like they are not there. You know,
oh, no.
If I can't see them,
then they don't exist.
And so I just like turn a blind eye and I just keep on praying. I'm like, I hope they figure out their lives.
Yeah.
The thing I said about parents and your father wanting you to be a doctor so you can get out of the house, it comes from me. Like, I look at my CV, I'm like, if they don't figure out their life,
they're going to be with you.
Dependent on me forever.
They're going to actually be stuck with you.
Forever, right? And I don't think that I have the mental fortitude to just cut them off.
Yeah.
You know? And so I worry a lot about all of this. But yeah, like that's how it's that's how it's developing.
Yeah.
You know?
I think this thing is very interesting because I was saying literally just yesterday, one of my friends came to my house and we were working, and I was saying to them that like, look, we were talking about somebody else and I was saying to them that I honestly think just from watching my friends and my life that a lot of us that grew up very comfortable, I said, I'm not even trying to be somehow. There is a level of grit we do not have because because there is no fear of hunger anyway. I said, look, bad as it bad. If my business crashes and burns, it will be bad. I will not be hungry. And I'm like, there's a thing that I think that does when your mental state is that your safety net is very, very, very wide. And there is a big cushion. And because we're talking about something and we're like, it doesn't make sense that this thing is not more than it is because all the ingredients for this business to be crazy, but the person just it's almost like you're begging them to do
I do think
the thing. And I was like, obviously there's obviously always exceptions to the rule. But I was like, it's so crazy that sometimes the comfort you're given to thrive can be the thing that like
hampers a little bit.
Hampers and not a lot in most cases, but just a little bit like the level of grit. I mean, some people just have it, to be honest, regardless of their situation. Some people just have it.
Yeah. So some people are just born like with massive. If you're born with like a very massive ego, right? And you are born with like, you have like some kind of high agency. So you have an ego and you have agency. Those two things can spur you on regardless of your comfort. So it's like, I want to make my mark on the world regardless because daddy's money or my family's money is going to make me comfortable, but I'm going to be like a non-entity. You know, so some people have like that drive that happens and it works for them. But I think that you can tell very quickly if somebody doesn't have it, even from their youth, right? So my personal lesson, like the lesson I'm taking into like if I ever have kids, child rearing and everything is...
No, rearing.
I love child rearing.
That sounded very agricultural. Yeah, I know.
But you studied agricultural science,
yes,
so that's fair.
So so when it comes to like child raising a child, I think that's better. When it comes to raising a child, I think that if I really wanted to get like a good kid out of the whole deal, that I would have to simulate hardship for the child. Do you
think it's necessary?
Yeah, I think so. So again, like I've had like this conversation with my dad so many times, and I do agree with my dad on one thing is that I personally do not have grit, right? And I never have. Even when I thought I had grit, it wasn't that I had grit, it's that I realized that the options between two things were always do this thing or die. That was always the thing, right? So it's not like I had grit so much that I had no choice. It's like there wouldn't be me here if I chose to die, you know? So like every time that I was going through life, I was like patently aware that if things crashed, I will be done, you know? And I think that is a trait that every member of my family has, you know? We generally are very chill people. We don't disturb people. We're very, very, very cool, right? And that's not conducive to grit. It's good if you have money, then you're fine. You're just well You're just well integrated with your society. But if you now go through like a struggle phase, then nobody's going to be able to come out of it. And also, if one of you comes out of it, in this case, me, and then you support everybody, you don't give them an opportunity to rediscover what they would be if they had to go through hardship. And now, I don't want anybody to go through hardship. Like, that's my thing. I don't want anybody to go through hardship. But I think that if you have a kid and your kid starts to act like, oh, no matter what happens, my dad's got me, then you have a problem in your hands. Mm-hmm. And unless you step in and actively like fix it, what's going to happen is that that kid is going to grow into an adult. And by just the social contract of being the parent of this kid, you then have to support them till they die. And I don't like it. Like, I don't agree with any of everything I've said. I think that my children they have like a very short time to spend with me. Yeah. After which is fuck off. Right? And that interval, I have to do the best I can to make them able to stand on their feet. And if some of that means introducing them to controlled hardship, so it's not that you're going through hell. Yeah. I will do it. Right? They might resent me briefly, but I think that because I did resent my dad briefly when I was going through hardship. And the older I've gotten, the more I kind of appreciate that I went through it, because I have seen my siblings and I'm like, if I were like them, I don't think I would like it, you know? So yeah, like you have to think about those trade-offs. That's what I think. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Okay, Kami, do you have one?
Yes, I do. To me, this one is kind of wild because I'm like, hey, 77K wahala. I wanted to do one that the money wasn't a lot.
Okay.
Hi, FK Angela. Nice work. I really enjoyed listening to you guys. Thanks so much. Now to my dilemma. I don't know why NYSC increased the money from 33K to 77K. Yes, it's a good idea, but now everybody knows how much I'm earning. Because any small thing, maybe you have 77K. Like, bro, my mom will call me for money. My siblings feel like I should be giving them the 7K on the top of the 77K. As how now? They feel the money is too much for me and I should be distributing it. I have a lot to do. I have plans. I have goals. But no, that one is not their business. It's that bad to the point that whenever I tell my mom I don't have, she doesn't believe me. And she will start blackmailing me emotionally. I eventually end up sending her something, then suffer before the month ends because true, the money is not enough. It's not like my mom was always sending me money while I was in school. Now she wants to reap the fruits of what she did not labor for.
77K.
Distributing 77K between from more than one person in this current economy is wild.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. I think...
How can you believe that the money is too much?
Let me not lie to you. I think because the earlier you start, the better. This 77K time is the best time to be stingy.
Yeah.
Because they need to believe that you are stingy with a little and you will be stingy with a lot. Not that you are generous with a little.
And so when a lot comes...
No, I think there's something to be said about developing boundaries. Our society is really hard on boundaries because we just were raised in a very... That is what I mean about like you redirect the conversation and you reframe it as... So it's not you won't think of it as... You're not supposed to think of it as your parents are entitled. You think of it as this is a duty, right? So I do think the only thing I can explain to you now is that they have to think you're irresponsible. Like they have to think that something is wrong in that I don't have it. There is no money. I don't have, it is gone. We have to find another solution. And by we, I mean you.
Yeah, I actually can't just get past the fact that, how far do you believe 77K can stretch?
Do you know the reason why?
Like we're all in this today together.
Do you know why I want him to do that? I want to read a dilemma that I will tap into.
Yeah.
On the back of, you said that this is small money. I don't want you to think that it's because it's small. Is not lasting. So this person calls themselves Ladybird and says, I've been supporting my family for over a decade. I'm in my early 30s now after being sent to the US when I was 21 to figure it out for everybody. Basically, the unspoken expectation of bringing them here when I made it. I now earn about $200,000 a year, but I'm in $90,000 of debt from supporting them for so long before I could find my feet. I had to take out loans and credit cards to support myself while I was sending what I was earning back home. God has been good and I've been able to climb my way up the corporate American ladder, but I'm unable to enjoy the fruits of my labor because I have to pay off debt and interest. Yeah. I'm in a place where I can afford to pay off the debt now, but it eats deeply into my disposable income and the resentment levels are very, very high. The high is even in capital letters. 2 of them now live with me here in the States. So let's not even get into the emotional toll it takes.
Yeah.
Now that I'm ready to settle down, I have to choose me over them. The reason I wanted to read this is one person is there thinking, I need to manage my 77K. Somebody else is on 200,000.
Like, I'm actually minus.
They're in the top 1% globally. And it is still that. There's something about your family just thinking of you as an ATM, whether it is small
or big.
It's just not going to end because, let me say something about free money. It's not up to me, the recipient, to say, do you know what?
To be considerate
I need to
about
stop.
you.
Yeah.
It's the person that was giving me that has to say, do you know, for instance, do you think if my dad had said, he's still going to be giving me pocket money,
I'll stop collecting
I'll now say,
no.
Yeah.
I had no choice.
Why would you give me?
Today my parents call me that, you know what? There's no part of my ego that can say no. I'm independent. Please! If it's 50K, you guys want to be sending
it.
I don't mind.
Send it.
You send it. Should I'll use it to buy petrol. Send it to me. Let me feel good. Free money. I'll say you guys just go and eat.
Yeah.
They send me money.
So I just think that there's something to be said about figuring out how to put your foot down. I mean, we've given examples here. We said lying. Justin explained just the importance from very personal experience, being like, no, and this is why. For the person that has little money, I actually don't know what to say to you except you just have to say, I don't have.
Because the thing is, your survival is at risk. You're doing NYSC, which we all know. There's not much happening there. Now you're earning 75K, which everybody knows. First of all, your siblings want to remove 7K thieves. Then your mom is doing this and that. You're already saying that it's not getting to the end of the month.
Yeah.
But so do you want to keep... And also, you're giving them, by the way, so they're not going to stop.
Yeah.
There's actually no incentive being created to stop because they blackmail you, you answer them. So at some point, and don't get me wrong, it's not emotionally easy to draw a line.
Yeah.
But if you don't, it's you that is going to keep suffering and suffering and suffering. So you have to decide, in my own view, how much it is you can let go. And you have to stick to it like mad.
Yeah.
When that second phone call comes, there's
nothing.
There's nothing.
This thing you're saying is also important because we had someone that used to work for us and she was the second born, but she was just the most hardworking, the most all of that good stuff. But I'll never forget how she was constantly, she tried not to be frustrated because she was also very loving. Like she loved her siblings very much. She was second of 7. And she was paying bills.
Yeah.
But because she was very comfortable where she was working and a lot of her overhead was covered there, it seemed like she had a lot of disposable income. And there was always something.
Yeah.
There was always something. One time her mom said she wanted to do one business, only for it to be that her mom was scammed. So she called her to see if she can try again with a different person. And then at a point, her sister wanted to go to school. And I'll never forget, I literally saw the light bulb moment. So we were talking. And she's explaining to me like, her sister wants to go to school. I was like, you're working to also go to school. Like, where does your sister work? She looks me dead in the face and says, and she didn't mean it in a bad way. She was like, my sister can't do this kind of work. And I said, but you can. And you can work and send it to her.
Yeah.
And she said, her temperament won't allow it.
Yeah.
And I said, I know like we're great. Like you have no issues with us. But I don't think you've had a series of great employers, have you?
Yeah.
And it was in that moment, I was like, your job is not a job people choose to do because they like it. Like this is not easy, right? Yeah. And the fact that I had to spell it out to her that you are not, she was so kind. And so everybody that came to my house likes her. Lovely girl. I said, you cannot put yourself in the position of a mule for your family.
Yeah.
You are going to university.
Yeah.
And the only reason you are currently not in university is because you can't and your family can't afford it.
Yeah.
What I don't want to hear is that come September, you are still in this house because you want to save for another year.
Yeah.
Because you are sending money back for somebody who thinks this kind of work is beneath her.
Yeah.
Mind you, she's older than you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that you happen to be the one, they'll call you that somebody is sick, call you that somebody wants to start business, call you that there's no light at home, call you that there's no food, call you. And every time your savings are depleting. And it was just such a thing for me that there's always going to be something. And I had to explain to her, and I don't want you to sit down. Do you know, if I think now, I will keep finding things for people to pay for me. I don't have to go far.
No, I don't.
There will always be something.
I have a long list.
There will always be something. And it's very, very tough. As for the one in America, let me tell you the first thing. Timelines work for everybody. You see that thing of you have 6 months to get out of my house and figure stuff out. It's important. Yeah. Nobody is going to willingly say, I want to start paying my own bills. It doesn't happen.
Like if you're comfortable enough and you find a situation and the person is grumbling or not complaining, that's your business.
Yeah. I think that if you find that you have become resentful, that's your sign that you should address it. And I think families don't understand this. When you're speaking to like a breadwinner, the breadwinner will provide, but you will never hear them complaining because they're complaining to somebody else.
Yeah.
So they're not going to tell you that you're leaning too heavily on them, but maybe their partner is hearing you complain about your family, which means that your partner has like an unfavorable impression of your family because of that.
Yeah.
And this is what I wanted to talk about, like pertaining to black tax. People fixate on the financial part because it's very measurable, but there's like the real taxation doesn't even really happen in the financial part. So more to this woman, for example, you actually stall your life because you have dependents. That's the real taxing that happens. So this person who has a 77,000 naira salary, let's even assume that it was sufficient for their needs.
Yeah.
Are they not going to rent an apartment in a city? Because one of the reasons why 77,000 naira might be a good amount of money to have for NYSC, because you're probably in a remote location and everything. And so your accommodation is cheap and, maybe electricity, food and everything is cheap. And so it's fine. But you're not going to be there when you're done with NYSC. You need to rent an apartment in the city. You have to get a job and everything. You need to be saving now. But you can't save because you have dependents. And if you saved, you will feel guilty. And that's where the resentment comes in. So you should secure your long-term financial comfort for short-term poverty alleviation. That's what you're doing, right? And to add insult to injury, if you then have dependents who don't appreciate what you're doing, they will begin to feel entitled, right? And that entitlement robs them of their ability to strive as well. So they are even victims, even when they are. So from different dynamics, you are the victim of their avarice or their dependence. But if you went up back to them, they're also victims of, that comfort.
Yeah.
Because it's not real comfort in the sense that the amount of money that you are sending home is not even enough for the most part. It's not really enough for them to really be comfortable, right? But it's just enough for them not to strive, So they are stuck in like this stasis where it's like, you're not going to starve. We're also not going to do anything.
Yeah.
You're just going to exist, right? That's not good for them. It's not good for you. It's not good for anybody. And that's like the whole tax that everybody gets locked in a prison, I don't think breadwinners will have problems if they felt like, I am supporting my family and I can watch and I'm seeing my family strive as a result. If they did give, you know what, in the last 10 years, just for a decade, she's been supporting her family. And now I have watched this one become a doctor.
Yeah, and this one has become this.
I will be proud. Like I will feel a lot of pride. Like I will feel like, I literally pulled my family out of, but that's not what happens. That's the issue. Everybody just stays where they are, and your burden continues to rise. And you get to this precarious position where you begin to worry that what if you have cancer?
Yeah.
Or you have a stroke or something happens to you? You start thinking about how so many lives are going to be screwed.
Everybody is down.
Because nobody has been able to detach from you and find their own way. And that then causes like mental health problems for the breadwinners, So if you ever look at any first child who is doing any of these things, they have a temper.
Yeah.
They tend to have like a very nasty temper, and everything. And people read that to mean that you are a bit of an asshole. That's actually how people read it, right? Yeah. But the truth of the matter is that person is struggling mentally. Yeah. That's actually why. So usually when somebody cannot control their outbursts, it means they're going through something.
Yeah.
For the most part, if you're mentally healthy, if somebody pisses you off, you know how to like section it off and continue living your day. If things just piss you off, then you are in a very brittle mental state, right? And nobody ever thinks about that. It's like, my big bro was a bit of an asshole. He yelled at me today. Yeah. He told me that I should go find a job. He called me a bum. Well, you're a bum.
And then you find that like sometimes the person is like over-reliant in their relationships because you lack so much general support in life. Yeah. Now it's possible that all your like happiness support is now dragged from this one person who is like, I can't now correct all the like wrong that you don't have. And so there's just imbalance all over the place.
Yeah.
Like you are not balanced. And now your friends or your partner, whoever you now lean on is also not balanced. Yeah. And you just have all these things going on.
You're so right about that. Like the people don't talk about that. Like if you are suffering from black tax and you're in a relationship, your partner is almost certainly doing emotional labor for you.
Yeah.
Almost certainly doing emotional labor.
They have
the labor that your family is like, this person is just giving us the money and everything. Don't worry. Their partner is suffering from it. Like they're just ranting to this person and this person is calming them down 24/7.
You're constantly doing work to make them okay. Or make them okay because like what they're withdrawing is you that are refilling it.
Yeah. Okay, the final one so that we can just have a general conversation on and it's called the person called themselves meeting Payam Nabini. Who says, I've been an ATM since I was 15. Not figuratively, literally. Finished secondary school early, started working early. You think I was hustling to buy sweet things for myself like my maid, but nope, I was funding a whole household. I would leave home by 5 a.m. and get back by around 10, only to be told there's no food because they were waiting for me to come home so they can cook with the food I bought. It was like my entire existence was service. I once saved up to buy myself a phone. A small joy. My mother took this phone and said, God will provide. Yeah. Spoiler alert, he did not. I paid my siblings' school fees. In uni, my dad would send my hostel money to my mom. She would chop my money and say, sort yourself out. As if I had a trust fund in my pocket. Yeah. When I finally caught a break and started saving, thanks to someone who gave me a large sum, they somehow sensed this thing and doubled the billing. Yeah. Sometimes I would think, so even if I was doing wrongs, you guys won't care, Abi. Just send the money. Yeah. One time, I gave my brother my ATM card for a weekend and he drained my fucking account. I cried and complained. The response, but he's your brother now. It's not that bad now. He's your brother. Yeah. Still, I kept giving. Opportunities to travel, missed. Soft life, denied. Because how can I be enjoying when my family is suffering? Yep. It wasn't until I got my first job and was hit with premium grade billing that I realized I'd had enough. Every single phone call from them came with anxiety. What do they want from me now? Yeah. Now I am very, very stingy. I spend on myself with reckless abandon. From anything as small as suya to going on holiday. My own money bought me my peace. Even when I changed my phone, my family acted like I'd committed a federal crime. My mom even called me stingy and greedy, saying that she knows the kids who will take care of her when she's old. So all my years of service were what? A warm-up. At this point, I've hung my cape. No more captain, save the family. If I have extra, I'll send it. If not, to your tent to Israel.
Sis, anyway, congratulations to you on your freedom and liberty. Because
emancipation.
They will kill you there. They will kill you. And like, again, your context is not even one where they give a damn. So I'm like,
I think there's also something about shouldering responsibility for a long time.
Yes.
That means people start to remove your emotions. Yeah. They start to see you
You're not really a human being anymore.
Yes. Yeah. Do you know, to the degree that your hurt feelings don't really matter. When people do things to you, you're strong, you can make money, so it doesn't really matter.
There's even insults inside.
Oh, your sibling wasted your money.
Sorry.
Drained your account, so you're Pele now. You know how he is. You know, just stuff like that. They start to change. You're not really a full person anymore. You are just a version. Everybody's just playing with you. And it makes me sad because there's also, I feel like Nollywood portrayals of the rich uncle unfortunately didn't show any of these other dynamics.
Yeah. It makes it look sweet.
Yes. Yeah. You know, because even think about it, like, you know, how in most Nollywood films that you would see, the brother that made it marries a rich wife and all, she's a witch. You know, at the end of the movie, we find out she's a witch, right? Yeah. Because she stopped them from doing certain things. Like, you know, they came to their brother's house from the village and she said, get out and go back. And, you know, it's all that kind of stuff. And it's like, you don't know what you're hearing, right? You don't know how this person feels. There's something to be said for not even being able to look forward to a phone call from family. Yeah. Not being able to have a conversation where you can be honest. Not being able, something good happens to you.
You can't call them.
And you can't share because you know that what they're calculating is what does this mean for the person, for your own pockets and their own lifestyle. Yeah. And I think that that's something that we just don't speak enough about. Also, what it means when you put a burden completely on one person. Yeah. So, this sibling put themselves through school, starts making money and is funding the family. I would be deeply resentful if, at the very least, my family did not do the song and dance of pretending my siblings had to do the same thing. Yeah. And then you guys can come to the back. My mother can now come and sit me down and say, look, I know it was very hard for you, but can you supplement your siblings?
Yeah.
Let them focus a bit more in school. Just let's increase. I would be very resentful. And nobody thinks about that. What do you mean child A had to suffer? Child B, C, D don't even have to have the veneer of trying. I'm not even saying suffering.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Okay, we're paying school fees. They're not even going to do ushering on the weekends.
Yeah.
To supplement income. You're not doing digital marketing. You're not doing social media assistant, virtual assistant, nothing.
Yeah.
I think there's something, and it severs sibling relationships. People don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You can't be that close. It's not possible.
That's crazy.
You can't be that close. How are you going to gist with said siblings?
Yeah. Actually, you're right. Like this thing that you said, it's actually true. The only way this works is that there has to be someone who is dehumanized.
Yep.
You know? And the way that the dehumanization happens is very subtle. So people don't realize that they are dehumanized. That's right, like the breadwinners. They dehumanize you by, so this is the baseline for being a human. So they elevate you here. Mm-hmm. And that's actually how you get dehumanized. So they first tell you you're special. Mm-hmm. That's actually how it happens, right? Mm. They first tell you you're special. You know, your siblings cannot do the things you do, right? That's actually how it starts. When you are like, oh, look at what I'm doing. I'm working, I'm struggling. Why can't he strive? Why can't she work? Why can't you don't know that you are different, you know? You are
the chosen one.
They can whine.
Yeah, they can whine. They'll tell you you're smart, you're hardworking, you're just, like you've always been different. Even from school, they knew, Incidentally, they used to call me prof when I was in school. So remember they used to call you professor right then. Like you've always been this person. And what then happens, just like you said, it creates like a distance between you and everybody. Because if you do take that literally, it means that you are different fundamentally from your siblings and you cannot rapport with them ever, right?
You're no longer on the same footing.
Exactly. You're permanently you're almost different species by that logic, right? The second part, and this is what you said, Jola, is that because of that distance, people make excuses for the underperforming relative, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, this person doesn't want to get a job.
Yeah.
You are critical. Just get the job, you bum. And I'm going to use the word bum a lot. I like it. So it's like, get the job, you fucking bum. And he struggles to get the job. And then the family is like, he's a kid. He's not like you. Blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, actually, to be fair, he's not quite like me. I have to be a little bit lenient.
Yeah.
But because of that, you cannot be close to that sibling. You just can't be close to the sibling. But also, secondly, you will find yourself in this kind of weird tension where you are kind of bankrolling this sibling, but you also can't be critical of that person.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I'm paying for your accommodation, I'm paying for your school, I'm paying for this. But when I say that, I don't get the sense that you are serious at school. People are like, it's just a kid, just a kid going living alone. So my question is, the arrangement is that you should be able to send money home.
Yeah.
But you can't have any thoughts on how that money is used.
Yeah.
That's actually how the dynamic goes. And thirdly, you can't be critical of anybody who is like a beneficiary to you.
It's super weird.
Which is different because when parents are paying, that is all they're allowed to do.
That's all they say. Everything they say is like, okay, well, you're under my roof. So guess what?
I'm paying for the degree.
Not that it's you that has a roof.
Yep. I'm paying for the transport. So you go and you come back at this time.
Yeah. I actually had two more.
Feel free.
Okay. This one is very interesting. Madam Blocking. I cut my mom off as a result of black tag.
Ooh.
She's currently sick with cancer, which makes everything even more complicated. But her being ill doesn't erase years of emotional manipulation and toxicity. For years, she tried to pit me against my younger sister. Our relationship has always revolved around money. And no matter how much I give or do, it's never enough. Every year she comes to America. I pay for her tickets. I give her money, not small amounts. I provide a car. She drives all over. She still turns around to ask me for gas money. This year, she returned without telling anyone. Her friend called me to say she had been diagnosed with cancer. I immediately refunded her ticket, checked in with her daily, and tried to be emotionally supportive. But she continues to drag me down emotionally, gaslighting, guilt-tripping, manipulating, while still expecting more money, not just for herself, but to give away in Nigeria as if she's running a charity funded by me. Last year, I hit my limits. I decided to stop giving her money. She beats me that is not good. Let my sister do the next stretch. After 12 years, maybe we'll meet in the middle. Things escalated. She called and demanded I travel to Nigeria with my kids, saying there were rites that had to be performed because I offended her eleda. She said I must buy her a white ram. Exact words used, that we would all wear white and that she and others would reformat me and my children. You see that jazz has entered the group chat. Yeah. When I said I'm not going anywhere, she responded with threats, telling me that I will run mad, essentially. That was it. I blocked her. Now everybody's calling me saying, but she's your mother. Can't abandon her. I don't say anything. I just block everybody immediately since we all want to be moving mad.
I think...
Wow.
I think that is, there's my visceral reaction was when I heard I cursed my mom off and she has cancer.
That was my first. That was my first
I just saw. Oh my God! Like I know we're all talking about.
I was like, I know we're saying,
put your foot down.
I was like, cancer, but then it went on, and I thought, oof.
And this is typical in that. What I mean is like the telling of the story. Yeah. So when the story is being passed around, it's only going to be, you believe XYZ is not talking to her mom.
Yeah.
And her mom is sick.
Yeah.
As opposed to for 12 years, XYZ was doing ABC for her mom. It was even paying up until treatment started, tried to show up. And now her mother is just constantly manipulating, insulting and berating her. This is the thing. She didn't actually abandon her mom. She just said over to you.
She just said no.
She just said over. There's a sibling
and also you made it, a bit crazy. Now you want her to come back. You want her to do right. It's like, what's going on?
I've seen this happen a few times, not very many times, but there's something to be said for a personality type that is gentle, easygoing, allows a lot of stuff slide. To the point that the person who is the beneficiary doesn't realize they're taking advantage.
Yeah.
It is always so deeply shocking when they're like, do you know what?
I'm not doing
it again. Because the expectation is, this one, you can take this one for a ride for as long as possible.
Yeah.
And that's why your mother's behavior is escalating, because she just thought your tolerance of her was perfectly elastic.
Yeah.
Like it was just endlessly elastic.
When she escalates, you respond. Yeah. And unfortunately for her, you've actually reached your limit. And so there's nothing else to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all these extra threats, or you have to do right, and you're like, cool. That's fine. And, now she had broken the relationship, which was the point of it at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
No, but if a parent threatens me with juju, that's the end.
That's the end.
So like, is
and they must do it.
Yeah.
They must.
So one thing that like people don't talk about it, like culturally speaking, like a lot of family members hold sway over like dependents and my children, like with jazz, And the beginning of your freedom is the day you decide it's not going to affect me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, by whatever logic that jazz works, but by the way, I don't understand the logic of a lot of jazz, right?
For me, before you continue, it may not be, I do think that there's a lot of spiritual abuse that happens. So some of it is not even jazz.
Yeah.
It's this thing of where you emphasize the power of a parent's prayers.
Yeah.
And you imply that you withhold those prayers or those blessings.
You're now turning them into curses.
Yes,
and that's what will ruin my life.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Like, so there's like a bit of a very weirdly, darkly spiritual hold that parents have, and they really lean into it, especially when they're very malicious, right? It's like, if the way you made me cry today, your children will make you cry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to hear that shit. Like, if a parent ever tells me that, so the first thing is, and this is my own personal beliefs, I don't believe that anything anybody says about me, be they kin or stranger, I don't think it has any material effect on what happens to me. I think that anything that happens to me has an effect. Like, one, there's an accidental blowback from just living in a society. Some things just happen to me because I live in a society, right? Then there's other part where it just happens because of actions that I took, So for example, if I let's assume a parent curses me today and then I lose my job next week, right? It's true that I can mentally connect those two events. Yeah. But I can also review the work I have done and be like, I was not trying these last couple months. Like, I was, before this course started, I was also not performing at work. Like, let's be honest, Like, I want people to do that kind of mental exercise. I know that, because I've spoken to a lot of Nigerians and don't want to hear this, but I want to say that if you do that, even if I am wrong, maybe it was really jazz that happened and then you lost your job. it does not give you like a lot of leg room to be free.
Yeah.
So what I mean is, if you accept that your parents placed a curse on you and then you lost your job, then it means that you're going to, spend the rest of your life appeasing them.
Yeah.
That's what it means. That's the implication of that thing. You have to appease them, otherwise they're going to curse you again and then you're going to lose your job. But if you assume that everything you do is downstream of bigger systemic things that you don't have any control over, or your own deliberate actions, you have more agency. You can take charge of your life and you can do more things. Maybe you're cursed, but you still have like the ability to change some aspects of your life, So to this person who sent this fan mail, I think that if you don't have anybody in your corner, I'm your corner, right? That's what I want to say, right? Because I think your mom is blatantly and transparently malicious. Right?
Yeah, and she's bullying you. Yes, and actually wicked.
Yes, exactly.
She's bullying you and using society and culture as a crutch. And it happens a lot.
Yeah.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
Parents will be deeply unfair to a child.
Yeah.
And this thing I said about reframing things you do because society is on your side.
Yeah.
So you've been deeply unfair to your child. And then you leverage society and culture to bully them.
The Nigerian expectation of parent-child relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And so you take advantage of it. You know that if you present this story like this, your child will be whipped in public on your behalf.
On your behalf.
So,
yeah, it's unfair.
So you have like, this is what I said on Twitter one time. I said, whenever people talk about like parental abuse of children on social media, sometimes somebody posts a story like there's one girl that wanted a phone and then her parents told her not to get a phone. Like it's always a lot of stories where parents lord it over children. I like my natural like
instinct
would be to support the child. I said the reason why is because everything, the church, the school, the state supports the parent. Like it doesn't even matter a case of right or wrong. If the parent is the aggressor, society demands that the child apologize.
Yep.
That's how we built our society. The child has no
rights.
Whether
rights
parents
whatsoever.
are right or wrong doesn't matter.
Yes.
The fact is they're parents.
Yeah.
And so that hierarchy has just given them. It's crazy.
Your parent does something ridiculous, but everybody ignores the ridiculous thing and say, why did you talk back?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it can't, it's not sustainable. If we implicitly acknowledge that children are the future, right? And our parents are the past. If we agree that children are the future and parents are the past, then we have to accept that maybe there is some wisdom that we should listen to from the perspective of the person that is like the child. We should treat them as equals. And I know we don't like to hear that either. Like the child and the parent are fundamentally, like in the eyes of the state and in the eyes of the law, equal. They have exactly the same amount of rights. To the extent that the parent is a guardian, they have like some extra rights over the child, but those rights should not clash with the child's agency. But in Nigeria, we override the agency of the child
every time.
at any age. The child could be 50 years old.
Yeah.
And you can still override their agency.
You still have to bend to your parents because they're your parents, not because they whether they do anything sensible or not. Everybody is always like, but, and it's really crazy.
What's your last one?
Please, the last one, because for me, I'm like, but there are a few of these and I'm like, I really want to ask you about this. Black Sheriff says, you guys, my Black Stacks story is so funny because it's not even my family. It's my friends in all caps. I'm going to try and make it as general as possible so nobody comes for me. It's my friends and it's all because I've left the country. Suddenly, somebody is owing somebody money and they're worried about it, or they need to get money to do something important, or just one random billing because they think I'm living and enjoying my life. I gist them a lot about the new things I'm enjoying and how I'm happy because I'm not struggling anymore and I can afford to buy what I want. Next thing, someone's calling me cash madam and asking for rent or something. Mind you, I'm on a scholarship here. Like it's my scholarship that's funding my entire lifestyle.
Yeah.
So me too, I'm just managing myself. And it's only been 4 months. I'm not going to lie. I have it way, way easier than before and can actually do the things I want to do and eat what I want, but not to the extent of paying somebody's rent now. There's even one foolish boy that I borrowed money before I even knew I was traveling, and the clown has not paid me back. Yes, I asked for it and he said he'll return it, but never did. Also, most of the people asking me for my help are men.
Yeah.
Later, they will come on social media to say women always ask them for money. Lamau, please. Anyway, I'm obedient and I won't make this long. Love you, my favorite ladies, and love the pod. So there's a few that I saw about
friendships.
The people billing me are my friends. There was one that the person was saying they made money, they told their friends, and all of a sudden, they're paying for everything.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, as you started to make more money, did it affect friendships?
Okay, so to answer that first question, first, I don't think that's black tax, right?
That's billing.
Yeah. So the distinction...
That one, because the tax is an obligation.
Yeah, exactly. So the distinction is that black tax has to be family-oriented, specifically because the reason why you are taxed is because your family has an economic disadvantage. And so you can imagine that this family started from the ground, right? And then this is where you get like your guilt and resentment from. You can see your family actually doing their best with what they have, such that when you then make it, you feel the need. Like that's where the obligation comes from. Well, what kind of relation you have with your friends? That's like what's gonna necessarily? I didn't like.
They're not your dependents.
Yeah. So in this case, you just need to put your foot down. That's all you need to do. Like if somebody bills you, no, just say no. So something happened to me. I think this year or last year, right? Like in my faculty the alumni group WhatsApp, I'm usually not very active, but somebody posted a picture of me on my birthday, and suddenly like my classmates remembered me. So backstory, I wasn't very popular in school because I was mostly never in school. So most of my classmates don't even know me, right? And so when the pictures, people were, Justin, happy birthday, Justin. And I started to receive a bunch of calls. Like most of them were asking me for money. You know?
On your birthday?
Yeah. Yes. Most of them were asking me for money.
Sorry.
You know?
Oh, happy birthday. Hey.
No. It won't happen that day. You know, they will say, they will greet you.
They remember you.
Yeah.
Maybe do another call just to establish friendship.
Exactly. So I'm going to get like more and more calls from people.
Good Lord.
You know, and I have had no problem telling all of them no. Like it's not even like, oh, I have conflict. No, like no, I don't know you. You don't know me from anywhere. Some of them were like somewhat close to me while I was in school, but it's like, come on, like I don't have any obligation here.
Yeah.
Like if I wanted to be generous, I would, but I feel like then I will be teaching you bad habits.
Yeah.
I'll be teaching you that it's good to call people out of the blue, and I don't want to encourage that behavior. So very easily, I'm like, no, my guy, look at Tinubu is president, man. Things are hard, man. Like, my guy, I feel I'm so sorry. Similar thing happened to me too. Tell me any problem you have. Something similar happened to me too. That's literally my clue. I've been sick. Similar things happened to me, man. That's what I would just tell you. Like, we're all
going through it.
Yeah, we're all going through it. What are you going to do? You can't beat me.
Yeah.
Like, parents, completely different things. Friends, even if you're my blood, like we did blood covenant when we were 6. My guy. Go and hustle, man. Honestly, like...
It's very different. You are right.
It's very different. But I was surprised. I was like, there's so many that are buddy, and I'm thinking...
It's because people just really want to be liked.
Yeah, I'm just like, what do you mean? You made money, all of a sudden you're paying... People asking you for rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so bold.
Yeah.
Hello, boys and girls.
Hello, all.
Now, as you know, we help people on this podcast. That's actually our primary function. We are benevolent queens. We give great advice, just nuggets of wisdom.
Yep.
And a lot of you ask, how can you get involved? How can you submit your issue? Tell them.
It's very simple. So wherever you're listening to this, in the description box, you literally see where you can submit your dilemma. Or you can go to our website, podcast.com, and see where you can submit your dilemmas. It's very simple. You literally just finish listening to the dilemmas or watching them. I know something is choking you. I want to say my own.
You want to say
I want to tell them.
You want to
I
write.
must.
So please feel so free.
Yeah.
Feel so free.
We're here for you.
Thank you so much.
Back to the episode.
Bye.
I have a few questions. The first one I wanted to ask was, do you still have the same level of obligation? Or how has your life changed in that time? And do you find that if it has decreased, how do you find that you're using your money or the mental space? And also, because the obligations have decreased, have the relationships then changed? Yeah,
those are very good questions.
Of course, I'm good.
My obligations did not decrease; they increased.
Huh?
So there are second order effects to things that I did not consider then that I'm considering now. So. Sometime in 2020-ish, around the time of the podcast, I can't remember when now, but around that time, I began to worry that I had a purely transactional relationship. And I think I spoke about this in my podcast.
You did.
So I began to worry about that, like, is that the best?
Yeah.
You know, so I wanted to get really close to my family. And so I became more involved. So before I used to just send money.
Yeah.
I became more involved in what the money went into, you know. I became more involved. Like if somebody is ill, instead of just sending them money, I would take them to a good hospital, visit, you know, all that kind of stuff. when my sister finished school, for example, she was working in Benin. And I generally feel like if you work in Benin, from everybody I know who works in Benin, they don't leave. I'm not sure why. And so I was worried about her just staying in Benin and everything. So I was like, come live with me. I began to take like a lot more. My sister was my personal assistant, even though I don't really need one, because I just wanted to teach her how like to think about like professions and all of that. I think that the responsibilities became even more intense for me, because now I had more scope. Yeah. I think that when you have more scope, you want to do more, you know? If it's before, you can just mindlessly send money and forget about it. But if you now engage with the problem, then you'd be like, this is not enough money for this thing. There's not enough consideration being put into this thing. So you start to put more of your brain into the thing, you know? But one thing I didn't consider is like, even if I am supporting family, they have their own personality, they have their own initiatives, they have their own drives and everything. And I didn't consider that. So I began to get in conflict with a lot of my siblings, which made the relationship worse. So that answers the question, right? So it made the relationship worse because I'm very opinionated. Yeah. And like the way that you're doing this thing is bullshit. Like you have to do it this way, you know? And even though I always say this, even though what I did was well-intentioned, the fact that it did not, so you want to help your sibling be on the great path to life, right? Because you see that they're not doing it right, you become like this overbearing force, right? Forcing them to stay on the straight and narrow. But they don't even stay on the straight and narrow. Instead, they start hiding and lying to you, right? But because you were this overbearing person, now you destroy the relationship. Because you're like, if you don't do this, I'm going to cut you off. All of those kind of things, they just ruin relationships. So your relationship is destroyed. The sibling is not on the straight and narrow. What have you accomplished? Yeah. Nothing, right? And that was like the tension for me. And so I began to tell anybody who was dependent on me, it's like, there's a countdown timer to how much support I can give you. You have this interval to get your life in check. If you do not, I'm going to cut you off, unfortunately. And maybe that would then spur you on to take charge of your life. Like, I don't want to do it. Because I always try to preface things like, I don't want to do any of these things, but I have to do it because I have threatened many times in the past. And people just kind of know. Yeah, they just kind of know that I won't follow through. Yeah. Like I can see, even when I'm telling them I'm going to do this, I can see that they don't think I will do it. You know? And so now I'm just like, yeah, I'm just going to do it. Yeah. I haven't done it, by the way. I'm still talking about it, but I'm going to do it, you know?
Will you actually do it? Because it's hard.
No, I will. So the reason why I can't continue to sustain it is I have to consider that, and we were speaking about AI earlier today, right? I have to consider that I have to consider that I may be out of a job soon. No, I always plan for worst case scenarios. Yeah. I have to consider that I may be out of a job soon, and that maybe the world has grown past software engineers in general, right? I mean, very unlikely, but assume that is true, right? That means I'm going to need money to take care of myself soon, which with my savings might tide me over for a few years. I cannot now be dividing.
I was about to say that. Sorry, you just said a few years so casual. If my savings tied me over till August.
No, I started aggressively saving money. As soon as all of this AI thing started, I started saving money aggressively.
Just to say, wow, it's not me. That's how you people will believe redundancy.
Yeah, so I started aggressively saving money. So I'm like, this, emergency fund, I cannot now be splitting with you people. Yeah. So that's why my timeline and my countdown, all of those things, they are rooted in fundamental reality. So I'm not cutting them off because I feel like I'm cutting them off because this is how everything that is playing in the world today is playing. You were saying something about this lady whose sibling would not do certain jobs. Mm-hmm. And this kind of resonated with me because I have a friend who has a sibling, so there's a breadwinner that has a sibling. And this sibling got a job, worked for a week or two, like receptionist job, in a spa in Lekki. Yeah. So, and they were like, "Oh, this is the greatest job ever." They'll go in. They said they'll be at the reception reading a book. Just vibing the whole day. And then one day, a customer comes in, and the customer is like, "I want to do my manicure and pedicure." Receptionist says, "Well, nobody, everybody's booked." And so the customer walks away. Mm-hmm. The boss, observing from the CCTV, calls this girl. It's like, do you understand the job of a receptionist? Right? It's not just a pretty face that sits in front. Your job is to keep my customers. That's your job. Your job is, you are the first port of call. Your job is to give them a good experience and everything, blah, blah, blah. So what did you do wrong? the girl can't talk about what she did wrong. So the boss says, well, if we were booked full, you should have taken the details of the person. Tell them you can come back in 30 minutes. I will call you. There's a number of things you can do, you know. This girl quit.
Hey.
You know, and so when she quit, you know, she told my friend, this is how I heard the story. She told my friend and her parents and everything, and everybody was supportive of her because the way she told the story, she said that the boss was a bit of a jerk to her, that the boss told her to stand outside for hours, you know. And so I personally thought that was absurd. I was like, even if the boss is a witch, why would you just say she stand outside? You know, it sounded absurd to me. So I started asking a bunch of questions, and then he asked his sister. And it turns out that the boss did tell her to stand outside, but it's like they were talking outside, and then the boss said, give me a minute, and then went into a meeting. This is what she's spun
into the boss that she's
outside, you know. And I was telling my friend, I was like, because we went through like some really rough shit in school. I was like, even if Oga tell us we will stand outside, is that enough for us to quit our job? You know, like we're working like what, a week or two. We've been coasting, like nothing has happened. One day we receive one bit of feedback. And
also, the boss was outside with you at the time of saying, one sec.
So I was telling him, I was like, it's because you are giving her money.
Yeah.
You know, like if she had to pay rent, she will do that job. I promise you. She's not paying rent. She's feeding, you know. She doesn't have to think about any of these things that you would think about. Like me, I'm going through it at work. I don't have the guts to quit. Like I'm not working, like I go through like a lot at work.
Yeah.
You know. But I can't quit, you know, because
your obligations.
Yes, I have obligations. Also, I also think that quitting is habit forming, right? I think that if you, especially very early on in your career, if you are the kind of person who quits wantonly, then you will never be the kind of person who knows how to like, you know, go the distance.
Yeah.
You know, any small thing like, I don't need this. My man has 2 jobs. So as they're saying, everybody hates Chris. I don't need this. My man has 2 jobs. You just pick up your bags and then you leave, you know? And for people to be doing this very early, like at the age of 22, 23, it bothers me, you know? I was telling him, I was like, if she's proud at 22, right? Then she's never going to make it to 32 and then be in charge of anything.
Yeah.
Because the road to 32 and being in charge is filled with like there's a bit of a humiliation ritual that underpins every bit of professional work. And everybody has to understand it. Like people are just going to try to ridicule you.
You can't escape it.
You can't. You can't actually work in any environment and not have feedback.
Exactly. And so I was telling him, I was like, you see, me and my 30s now, if somebody told me to stand outside or somebody rebukes me like they rebuked her, I'll have a problem with it. I would now, you know. But that's also because I will not be the kind of person who will see a customer and just tell them go.
Yeah.
You get, like I've some things have happened in my life that will make me not
tell you that actually this doesn't make sense.
Is it urgent?
Yeah. Like,
what are you trying to do?
Give me a moment.
Pretend, go inside. Can't pretend you're asking questions.
Can you wait?
So
can you come back?
You know?
Like, so even if you're doing the effort just so that they can see you doing, do it. Like the game, you know how to do all this, and all these things are not that serious.
Yeah.
There's one person in the whole day that you have to make effort for. The rest of the time, maybe you are doing whatever it is that you do.
So the implicit relationship between like age and respect is that the older you get, the more you know what you should do.
Yeah.
Which is why people respect you. It's not that you are just aging, that's why people respect you. It's that the older you get, the more you have life experiences that make you more likely to do the right thing. And that's what accords you respect.
Yeah.
You know? So I was telling her, because I did speak to the sister, I was like, look, I would personally, I've never been a receptionist in my life, but I wouldn't do what you did.
Yeah.
But that's just because I'm an older person. The fact that you can't take the initiative to do this is why you're getting feedback. You should gladly take this feedback.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to be a fool at 40. That's what's going to happen if you can't take feedback. No, that's what's going to happen.
I'm sure that girl hates your guts.
Like man.
Yeah, she told her friend that I'm a bit pompous. And it's true.
Yes.
But it's fine. I'm
sure she hates your guts. But yeah, I mean, you're not lying. I appreciate the fact that you are honest about how your attempt to get closer with your siblings just blew that shit up.
No, I did a bad job with it. I'm very sure I did a bad job with it.
Yeah, I'm sure that there were places where you could have been like,
just a bit more.
I could have used a softer touch.
You can also understand you just being like, I can see what's going on.
It's just also because Justin was parentified early.
Yeah.
So he's not going to communicate with them
as a sibling.
Like a sibling. So he's going to talk to them in a very authoritative way.
You want to hear like a snippet of what I said one time?
God.
I was talking to my sibling. I was like, one evening, I can't remember what annoyed me. So I was like, I left home pretty early, so I don't know you, which is true. I was telling the sibling, I was like, I left home pretty early because I left home when I was maybe 13 or 14. And maybe they were 4. Like, I don't know, they were not individuals at that point. They were just concepts, you know? And so I left home super early. And so I did not know anything about my siblings in terms of personality. And now you're living with me. And so we finally get the opportunity to be introduced, to be reintroduced for the first time. And I was like, well, I have come to a conclusion, having seen everything about you, and I do not like you.
Why would you say that? Just say you're insane.
And that's what I said. I said, I know that, And I said, I was like, I do not like you, right? But I do think that you could become a person I like. You still have the opportunity.
I would hate your dad. I would actually hate your dad.
Can you imagine your friend calling you? You just say, come and hear with my brother talk this night. Can you just hear? No, please wait. I promise
just
you.
Come and hear what this foolish boy
said to me today. And you can see that I'm whispering because I'm still inside his house.
No, she...
Just see that you're not.
Are you crazy?
No, but I didn't. And to my own credit, I said, I'm sure that you don't like me either. That's what I said. I did follow that up. I was like, and I'm sure you don't like me either because I am like, I've been like really like an asshole when I'm like, you need to stand up and go get a job, right? And when you get a job, you need to stick with it, right? And I made sure my sibling sticks with it. I'm like, look, I have done this with a sibling before, right? Jordan, my brother, right? Jordan and I were at loggerheads. So people don't know, because Jordan is my closest sibling, right? Yes. But we were at loggerheads when he was growing up, because he lived with me very briefly. Yeah. And he was just vibing, So one thing that I credit Jordan for, and it's my mom that kind of told me, she was like, oh, Jordan is a sponge, right? And Jordan, like, he's very, very smart, but he's this average of his friends network, right? So when he lived with me, he actually became a sponge. Like, he started to become more like me, and I really like that. But before that happened, he and I, we had like a lot of tension, I would yell at him. I don't yell anymore. But then I was young, very hot-headed. So we had like a fractured relationship. But then he worked in some of the places I worked. He then branched out, became a senior engineer and everything. And when he became a senior engineer and then became an engineer, we began to talk a lot more. And he became somebody I could respect. Yeah. He had strong opinions about things. He was smart. He was thoughtful. And I respect that. But the truth of the matter is that I didn't start out liking him. And he also didn't start out liking me. In fact, he told me one night, like, we were at the rave, right? I attended the rave and he was at the rave. Like, we were in my car. And he was telling how much he hated me, right? Yeah, he told me how much I hated him. And I apologized. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, look, my own issue here is that if you turn out great, we're good. That's all I care about here, It's not like I just want to be a dick to you. Like, I like you,
It's for your own good.
Yeah, it's for your own good. So I told him I'm very happy to apologize. And I think I apologized to him twice, Unbidden was the second one. Like, he didn't ask for your apology. And I was just like, yeah, I know I was a bit harsh to you when you were a kid, but I'm sorry about it. And that's exactly how I feel about my siblings. In fact, I think I was a bit harsher on Jordan, given how he turned out compared to my siblings. Because they are turning out in ways that, it's not bad, but...
You're anxious.
Yeah, I'm anxious. Yeah.
I understand. Your anxiety is coming out not as care, but as like, oh my God, you people need to...
Yes. I feel like snatching their lives from them.
Yeah, and that's like how I feel. You can't, because they're individuals.
Yeah.
You just want to be like, please, assign this thing to me.
I'm like, you're doing nonsense. Just let me do this.
This boy sounds like, this is the thing. He's a parent.
He's a parent. The more you talk, the more I'm like, what has happened is that your relationship has changed.
There's a friend of mine.
You're actually a parent.
There's a friend of mine that called me, was a bit worried about his younger brother. Yeah. And starts going off. And this is not somebody that yells. Why he's talking to me, his voice goes higher and higher. So I'm quiet on the phone. He now goes, hello, you're not talking. I said, what do you want me to say? Because I said, am I being ridiculous? I said, no, you're just anxious for your brother in a way that is similar to being a parent, because you know him in a way your parents don't know. Your parents are actually not clear on who this person is. They have an idea. You know him, and so all the things that can go wrong. Yep. Your parents think of life like, you don't get a job, you get another one. Yeah. They don't understand what it's like that. If you're out of a job for 3 years, the industry has changed so drastically that it can be very difficult to even start. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you are not able to get yourself early. The world has changed so drastically that there's a fear that you can just be a loser. Like nothing really doing, nothing really working out because time is actually more of an enemy than people think. And so you seem more flustered and more angry, and because you've seen the harsher parts of the world, it's not like, hey, so what should I still shouting? What should I do? I said the first thing is that you can't talk to this boy like this. Because first of all, it's even phone call. You cut the phone. You just while you're talking, you just cut the phone. I said you can't talk like this. What you need to say is that what does he think he should do? This is what you think. Can we find a way? But I've realized that a lot of people who take responsibility for siblings in particular end up being parents. So your parents will always be the good guys because your parents don't actually have to do this thing you're doing. Sometimes you turn to your parents to start saying things like, anyway, I'll talk to your brother. Hey, when did I become the one
in charge
that is the mean one? What do you mean you are complaining to our parents about me in a way that your parents are not saying don't mind him now. You know how he is. He will still give you the money. Hey. Why did we turn this thing upside down? Yeah, it happens.
My mom told me one time, she was like, you know, these people are kids. They love and respect you. She was like, your sister, for example, you are her hero and her mentor. So you should speak a lot softer when you speak to her and everything. And I was like, if I'm her hero and a mentor, why is she not following my footsteps? Like, I really don't understand because
what's the point of the hero?
How else can she show that I'm a mentor except by following my footsteps? Like, I don't understand this logic here, you know? And so my mom tells me things like, for example, your brother is going to go back to school. And I'm like, you don't understand, is that people who in their 30s have money, want to go to school, have extreme stress going to school. Like once you're in your 30s and you have to educate yourself, like the older you get, the harder it is to be in school. Just some part of it has to do with the brain, right? But a lot of it has to do with like just life. You know, you have so much life happening around you. Like it seems kind of frivolous to be in school a lot of the time. And so it's easy for you to go to school when you're in your teens. You know, when somebody,
20s, like, and somebody's taking care of it.
Somebody's handling everything. Like she was telling me he's gonna go back. I'm like, he won't. Like I always have to preface by, I'm not swearing for him. Because my mom, anytime I say something, my mom will be like, don't say that. I'm like, Mama, I'm not swearing for him. I promise you. When I tell you he won't go back to school, it's not because I'm cursing him. It's that he had the opportunity to go to school, no pressure, and he completely
chose not to.
So now when he has pressure, like when he has to leave in work, you know, gets married, caters to family, and he wants to, he can't do it. You know, his brain is not even as quick. My brain is not as quick. You know, like I know how I used to be when I was a kid. You know, versus now, like my brain is like rock solid at this particular point. To learn anything is war. You know,
even phone number.
Like the problem of the 30s is that your memory is bad. That's the 30s problem. You just can't remember shit. Everybody's using Notion because they can't think. You have to document somewhere because. But when you were a kid, you could write anything, like just be thinking. I was at my most prolific in my 20s. If I didn't go to school then I would be totally screwed, you know. These are the things that worry me, you know, and I'm like, if you don't nail this at this particular point, what is going to happen is that you'll be patching it to your dead. Like you're going to patch it. Like if you don't go to school in your 40s, there's some things you just won't do.
You'll be hustling it.
Yes, you just won't do because it requires a certain kind of brain power that you did not cultivate in your 20s. So you will do some jobs because you just can't do others. That's actually how people then shrink and narrow themselves. When the older you get, you should have like infinite, boundless possibilities. You have even fewer possibilities. You know?
Wow, what a note to end on.
I'm telling you.
I think that's something for you to take away.
If people find themselves in like a cycle, like a weird loop, and they're trying to break out of it. So it's a combination of, I don't know how to tell my family no, I have too many obligations, and I don't like the transactional nature of my relationship with their families. What is the succinct way you would tell them? Like, if you could go back, what would you do?
So I would say that you need to build mental fortitude. A lot of everything that happens is warfare that happens in the mind, right? And the most important thing you need is mental fortitude. I'm not kidding. Like
Justin and these war references and ops.
The first thing you need to do is get a therapist, because here's what's going to happen. If you really want to break out of the cycle, you're going to make a lot of people unhappy. That's what is going to happen. There is no compromise. There's no debate. People like to think I can reason my way out of this. No, you're going to be fundamentally, diametrically opposed to most of your family. And it's going to take a toll on your mental health because you'll be isolated and cut off. You get the sense that the entire family is ganging up against you. If you don't have that mental fortitude, you will be brittle. You either cave in or you obliterate your relationships. Do you get? But if you have usually, and this is where the emotional labor of your partner comes in, usually, if you don't get a therapist, your partner would then have to step into the role of a therapist. If they are good at it, the relationship survives. For the most part, the relationship ends. You will destroy, your love life will be destroyed because of all of these things. So that's why you need a neutral third party that is responsible for your mental health. I think that if you do that, that might be sufficient alone for getting you out of it, because your therapist is going to tell you, you're in a toxic deal with these people. You need to put your foot down. Teach you how to put your foot down without going over the top, so that nobody would then weaponize your words against you. Because usually what happens is that sometimes you say the same, you say something correct, but you say it wrongly, and people latch on to how you said it as opposed to what you said, So you really do want to get into this mental jiu-jitsu place where you are really good at centering yourself. Everybody's trying to rile you up and win some victory. Or he yelled at his mom. So then imagine that you are trying to get people to be more self-sufficient, or you're trying to reduce your cognitive, your financial load. And then you say something wrong, your mom starts crying, right? You are cooked. Yeah. You're done.
Because that story
you will give more money, I promise
not going to be about anything apart from the fact that your mom is crying.
Yeah, you're going to atone and it's going to cost you more, And you're going to be afraid to even broach that subject again. That's why that's the only thing that I would recommend. Do make sure up here, nobody can compromise it, because that would be the first point they try to attack. So,
do you still write anywhere?
Incidentally, I started writing on Substack this week. I haven't written in 3 years. Yeah, but I've started going back to writing because I have a lot of things. So I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, and
in case people are looking for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, where can they find you?
Yeah, on my Substack, craftoverflow.substack.com.
Lovely.
What are you writing about there?
So I used to write about software engineering.
Oh God.
That's why it's called Craft Overflow. But now I'm just writing about what I think about thinking.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
I like that.
Yeah, so
that's interesting.
Yeah, the last thing that I wrote is called My Bad Intellectual Habits.
Right.
And it was just me thinking about working in tech. What has it done for my mind? So I work in tech for almost 10 years now. And I have picked up a bunch of really terrible habits, right? And I recently just began to think about them. So for example, watching videos, right? It's one of those things that people enjoy, but videos are some of the worst ways to consume really important information, because videos move at a pace that is not the natural pace of your brain. So your brain is it's either slow or playing catch up to video. Well, if you're reading at your own pace and you can understand the symbolic link between concepts because you're reading. Yeah. One other thing that I really think was an issue, from working in tech for 10 years, is I've become very biased in favor of, deliberation, because there's always sprints, brainstorming, and everything. That works in group settings because everybody has to have buy-in. But if you're an individual who is doing that, you won't do anything.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Buy-in.
Yeah, you're always overthinking. You're overthinking like you're a tech company. Yeah. Just do anything you want to do. Just go do it. Don't be analyzing. Don't be writing your manifestos about how you want to. Don't just go and do the thing. Then get your feedback and just keep on doing it. And I've done a whole bunch of bad habits that I've picked up. One of them, I guess, will be self-censoring. That I write like every other person who writes in tech now. If you read something I wrote in the past, you could tell. Like when I used to work as a Google, you could tell if I wrote something.
Yeah.
I don't think you can now. It's very dry. It's like mission statement type writing. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Okay, so please find Justin's Craft Overflow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming,
Thank you.
Justin.
This was really fantastic.
I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, I did.
I think this is going to be another very, very, very
banger.
interesting. So just prepare for them to be messaging you.
The thing is, he's not on Twitter anymore.
No,
so
don't worry.
They'll find
the
him,
Substack, they'll be there.
Yeah. I'm on Threads, but I don't want to share my hand.
And say hi to your girlfriend.
Yeah.
She's very sweet.
Lovely girl.
Yeah, she is.
Cute.
She is.
Yeah.
She is actually.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
You people know what to do. Like, share, comment, yada, yada, yada. So here we are. It was so funny at the at the film yesterday, one babe was like, oh, she came with her friend. So how do I join you people? I said, we don't have form. You actually just start listening and you are there. She was like, okay, there's no like joining. I said, no, we don't.
You don't join.
You don't join. Don't worry. Just get into it. All right. Lovely. Thank you so much.
My girlfriend loved the episode you guys did with Loji.
Really? Lots of people like that.
So many people like that, actually.
Yeah.
They thought it was cool after.
Yeah.
I did too, actually. Like, so there's something he said that I thought was very profound when he said that he was very quiet. It was a very quiet kid in school. And so music was the only way he could really express himself. And so when he became like a musician, said he didn't explore music as a way to be an artist or to be like a celebrity. They just explore it as a way to talk, since in reality he doesn't talk. So music was how he talked. I was like, that's like a very good.
It was very, very interesting.
So I then went to listen to all his songs with that perspective. That he's just really talking. It was nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Bye, guys. This episode of I Said What I Said is brought to you by Carousel Networks. Your hosts are Faye Kemi, FK Abudu, and Jola Jules IAM. Our producer is Debbie Romeo. Our social media manager is Najite Anira. Our cinematographers are Rutimi Kujuri and Divine Nabuko. Our production assistant is Theresa Ajayi, and our sound engineer is David Kenny. Our guest today is the fantastic Justin Irabo. This season of I Said What I Said is brought to you by Missan by Bamboo.